I think you covered all about me, so I don't need to say anything more, but I am the learning technology specialist. So my role is to help Rotarians that are looking to access our learning center. And I actually just started in June, so it's really exciting to be in my new career. And our team's role is to primarily manage the learning center. So that includes building curriculum and then, of course, the technical support of the learning center. Okay. Now, today we're going to cover a couple of topics. So first, I'm going to talk about how you can access the Learning Center. Then we'll talk about the available courses that we have for you to take. I just got updated numbers yesterday. We have over 1,000 courses in the Learning Center, and primarily those are in English. We have about 700 English courses, and then we have additional languages that we offer. And we're actually in the process of a really cool opportunity to expand our languages. For example, I just posted some in Icelandic. So that's one of our efforts right now. We'll also show district leaders how they can access reports to keep track of engagement with the Learning Center in your district. Then we'll talk about how you can stay connected with our team, and I'll make sure that we have some question and answer time. So the first thing I want to do, using that chat, if you'd just like to tell me if you have been to the Learning Center. Have you heard about it? So I'm getting a few yeses. Oh, this is exciting. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, lots of yeses. Okay, a few no's. Wonderful. Okay, so what we'll do, I see we have a hand. Braden, did you want to ask a question, or are you answering the poll?
Just answering the poll, sorry.
Okay, wonderful. That's another yes. All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, well, the good news is for those that are new, I am going to do a short demo. I will show my screen and just how you can get there. The next thing I want to talk about is computer health and how to access the Learning Center with your computer. So one thing we really want to recommend is that district members update technology to ensure the best experience with the Learning Center. The Learning Center platform accepts Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Safari, and Firefox web browsers. To ensure your best experience, we recommend that you have one of the 2 latest versions of your preferred browser. So please know that if you're still using Internet Explorer, we recommend that you update to Microsoft Edge, as Explorer is no longer a supported browser by many sites. So that's just a note on that browser. Along with keeping your browser updated, we also recommend you check the software of your own computer. So be sure to make any updates regularly as needed. Now, to get to the Learning Center, you are going to go through My Rotary. And there are 2 main ways to enter the Learning Center. So after you sign into My Rotary, you'll hover over the Learning and Reference menu, which you can see there. Then you'll click on the Learning Center, or you can just type rotary.org/learn in your URL to sign into My Rotary. When your
Megan,
district...
sorry to interrupt. Megan, it's Caroline. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Can you just make sure that everyone knows how to actually get into My Rotary?
Sure, and we're going to have a demo in just a little bit. I thought I'd talk through some items and then show everyone how to do that. Does that work?
Perfect, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Wonderful, no problem. So shortly I'll have a demo and we'll show you how to get into My Rotary. And one thing we want to remind you is when you're accessing My Rotary, it's really helpful to use the email address that you have associated with your Rotary membership. That just helps all of our permissions on the back end talk to each other. And if that's not the case, you can always contact our team at learn@rotary.org, and we'll be sure to connect your email addresses. Okay. I also want to mention that we launched a mobile access to the Learning Center. We have an app named Go Learn. You can visit myrotary.org on your mobile device and sign in and click on Learning and Reference just like you would on a computer. So it's a very similar process, but you will be prompted to download the app. And once the app is downloaded, users will need to continue the same sign-in process when they want to use the mobile app. So you just download the app once. You don't need to open that when you visit the Learning Center. But please note there are some limitations to the mobile app, such as some of our links to specific courses or learning plans may not necessarily open due to the sign-in process. So we're working through that process, but it is a slightly different user experience. So keep that in mind. And again, if anyone has issues, you can contact our team. For those that are new to going to the Learning Center, you will be prompted to accept the privacy policy. So just keep that in mind if you haven't been. Next, we want to talk about some of the features that the Learning Center offers. So the first is our course catalogs. We have done this so it's very easy for you to reference what courses are available. So as you can see here, we have About Rotary. So if you click on View, you are going to see all of the Rotary specific courses, Club Leadership, District Leadership, General, and we'll get into that a little bit more. I also want to mention that if you look at the bottom here, there's courses in English, and that is a catalog that's available that will list everything that's available. And then courses in additional languages as well. So if you speak a second language, you can check out our courses using that catalog. Okay. So the first course catalog I wanted to talk about is the Club Leadership Catalog. Club officers each have a learning plan or a series of courses that we put together that we recommend before taking office. New courses are added as they are developed. For example, we are in the process of creating a course on how to run a committee, and this would go in all of these learning plans. Caroline asked that I highlight where you can find training for club presidents-elects, and that is in this catalog. So as you can see right here, we have club president basics that club presidents-elect would want to take. And there's a lot of great information in here. These are not restricted. You can go in and take other courses. And in the Club President's Basics Learning Plan, which again is right here, and you'll see it'll be highlighted learning plan, and some of our courses will just say e-learning. That means it's a singular course. And in Club President's Basics, you'll learn how to run your club, strengthen your membership, conduct successful service projects, and help your club become more vibrant. I do want to note as well that all of our courses are written to members, which are Rotarians and Rotaractors. So if we have any Rotaractors on our call today, if you see a club officer role that you hold in your Rotaract club, you can complete these courses as well. Next, we have our district leadership catalog. And district officers have dedicated learning plans with a series of courses that we recommend before taking office. For example, you can see that the first planning here is for assistant governors. And again, you go in the Learning Center and you would click on this and it will enroll you in the learning plan. And in our demo, I will show you how to do that. Next, we have our Rotary Foundation catalog. And in this catalog, you'll find helpful information about the foundation. We recommend starting with the Rotary Foundation Basics, which can be found here. And that is a learning plan. And then we also have a fundraising basics course as well. And that is a standalone course. So that's an example of just an e-learning. Oh, apologies, I skipped ahead. So that is just a standalone course. For any leaders that are on the Rotary Foundation Club or district committees, this is where you will find your learning plan. There's also information about Rotary grants in this particular catalog. Okay, the next is our membership catalog, which has great learning resources for presiding over club meetings, leading volunteers, and attracting and engaging club members. And I know Brian King will be here to talk to you in a little bit about membership. And this is a catalog that is very helpful when you are looking to expand your knowledge on membership. We have a lot of great resources in there, including some diversity, equity, inclusion courses that have been very popular this year as well. Finally, I wanted to highlight our professional development catalog. We have 4 communication courses and 4 leadership courses that could help you work on specific skills as Rotary leaders. If you're interested in building your leadership or communication skills, I highly recommend taking these courses before the start of your year and using your role to complete the projects and seek feedback from other members. You could also use these courses to host club programming. For example, once a month, you could have a Toastmasters themed meeting where several members are giving speeches and the audience provides feedback. There is also a Getting Started with Toastmasters course that gives ideas. And finally, I know, Caroline, you asked to highlight some strategy and visioning planning. And for that category, there is a course called Rotary's Action Plan in You. This is a very new course. This is an initiative at the Rotary headquarters as well. And in this course, you will learn how Rotary's action plan can help your club increase its impact, expand its reach, better engage its members, and keep adapting to a changing world. This course also has a strategic planning guide document to help you with your process. So as you take this course, you can see here on the screen that there are several guides. These are downloads that you can download and plan for your club or your district. And for district planning, there is a great resource posted to my Rotary called the District Planning Guide. And I will share that after this presentation because it is just a link. It's not tied to a specific course at this moment. And I will send that to Caroline after the presentation today. I also want to mention that on my Rotary, we have a course catalog document. And this is a list of courses in my Rotary with links to them. You simply go to myrotary.org and search for Learning Center Course Catalog. We're also adding a link to this document in the follow-up email I send, so that will be available. If we make changes, we will add the month and year that we made edits. So as you access this, you can see what's most recently updated. We do update this about quarterly. If you enter a course you already completed, so as you're on the Learning Center, if you go back to something, any new materials in your learning plan will not have a check mark. So this is just something to know. Obviously, we will make updates to courses throughout the years, and especially after the Council on Legislation, when there's updates to official documents, we have to update all of our materials. So that's just something to keep in mind if you go to the Learning Center, year after year, that will make updates. I'd also like to point out that if you have any non-members that might be interested in Rotary, we do have some non-member courses available as well. And you can see in this catalog which courses are available to non-members in the column before languages. So that is available. And I think that's really cool if you want to share information about Rotary to prospective club members. And I want to mention too that if members are seeing the non-member page when you're logged in, it's an indication you might have a duplicate profile. So just again, email us at learn@rotary.org. We can help troubleshoot. Okay, and now I'm going to just get out of the show, and I am going to have a live demo here. So I am going to just Google, this is the easiest, my Rotary. Okay, got a couple links here. We're going to go to my Rotary. And it'll just take a second to load. There we are at the home page. You're going to go to the upper right corner and you will sign into my Rotary. And you will sign in.
Megan, can you briefly address how to get sign-in credentials?
Sure. So to get sign-in credentials, let me sign back out again. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So we have a sign in and we have a register. So to register for my Rotary, you're going to click register. You'll enter your name, last name, email, and just that you're over 18. Now, an interesting point about my Rotary is anyone can create an account. So if you have a non-member that's interested in joining Rotary, you can have them create an account. They can search the site and get more information about the organization. They just won't have access to everything because they're not a member yet, but they can look around. So that is how you do that. And then we also have, I have a full PDF that gives an explanation of how to sign into my Rotary and go through all the steps. And I think just for the sake of time, I will send it in my follow-up. And if you can forward that to the district, that'd be great. It's all the attendees today. So let me sign back in and we will show you. Show you just where a lot of these resources are. So we'll sign in. And the reason it takes a minute is our sign-in process is talking to our database. So if you're ever wondering why when you sign in, you might see a circle, that is what's happening. And we're going to go to learning and reference, and I'm just going to click on this, and this will take us to our homepage. And we have all about Rotary. And you can see we have a link to our action plan. And then you are able to learn by role. Excuse me 1 second. Yes, you can learn by role. And then you also have topic available. And then to get to the Learning Center, it's right here. You'll visit the Learning Center. Excuse me, it's an early morning voice. Apologies for that. This is what happens when you're talking. So we'll open our Learning Center. And here's where I was talking about all of the different catalogs that you can access. So that will launch. And let's just take a look at we'll look at the club leadership catalog. You just press view. And it will take a second to load. Again, we've got 1,000 courses, so it takes a minute to think. And then you can see we have all these courses tagged here, which is really handy. And it makes it easy to look at the different topics. You can also use the search at the top. So let's say you're looking for courses on membership. Just type in membership. And then you'll have additional courses and even some documents pop up as well. So we have a lot of great resources. So let's go into that Club President Basics course. It will pull up, this is the course landing page, and this is particular to learning plans. So this particular one has 2 tabs. So it says about this learning plan, and then learning plan structure. And here is where you can see, these are all individual courses that are tagged to this learning plan. So as you enroll in this, you will be prompted to take all these individual courses, and each one is 15 minutes to 45 minutes. It depends on the topic, but our average time for the courses is about 15 minutes. And to enroll in this learning plan, all you have to do is press the button. You've been enrolled successfully, and then you can say, let's begin. And here you go. Looks like I've already completed that, and I'll get a check mark. And anything I haven't completed, it will say not yet started when you hover over the check mark. And look at this, I've already started Rotary Club Central Resources. So this is in progress. So if I wanted to pull that back up, I'd just click on the individual course. Now let's go to the course catalogs again, and I will show you on the Rotary Foundation catalog how to enroll in an individual course, which is slightly different than if you're going to a learning plan. So we talked about this fundraising basics, which is an e-learning. You will click on that. And here it tells us all about this course. And here's the content. So there will be an e-learning module and then some additional items. You can enroll. Okay, let's begin. And it will pull up your course. And the Let's Begin button will usually go to an additional page. We work with a great program called Articulate 360, and this is how we build our e-learning modules. And pretty much most of what you will be experiencing in the Learning Center will be a module. So it will pull up a new page, and you'll just scroll through and press Start Course, and it will activate your course. So that is how you access an individual course. I am going to exit that. I'll finish it later. And then I do want to mention, if you ever wanted to get back to the home page, just click the Rotary logo at the top. We also have a user menu here that has different features, which I will go over in a little bit. But this is a link to the course catalogs as well. So if you ever select the hamburger menu, it will just refresh the main screen. We also have my dashboard, learning topics, my favorites, questions and answers, my activities, and a link back to my Rotary if you need to get to another resource on my Rotary. So that is our live demo. I do want to get back to our presentation so we can continue to talk about these great features. So I just talked about that hamburger menu. And let me just get to my notes here. I want to talk about the My Dashboard page. It includes all of the courses that you have enrolled yourself in or have enrolled you in. And in fact, let me pull up. I think we should take a look at that just really quickly because we are good on time. If you go here to the user menu and click on My Dashboard, we'll take a minute to pull up all the information. And this is great. You can see, look, I just accessed fundraising basics. It's in progress. I haven't finished it yet, but I have completed other courses. If you press View All, it's going to pull up all my courses and learning plans. And you can see what I haven't started, what I have finished, etc. And if we go back to that tab, you can also see your learning activities, how many you've completed, how many are in progress, not started, and any other assignments. Now, assignments might be if you've asked a question on a course and someone has come back and answered that question, you'll see something there. Or if you are a moderator of a learning topic, which I'll explain in a minute. But that is my dashboard page, and I think it's handy to see that. Okay. We also have learning topics. Learning topics can be implemented if you want to share resources with other members and if you want to share ideas and answer questions. So a good example for this is, let's say you have a district pets coming up in March of 2022. You can create a learning topic for that event. You can tag all the things you want your attendees to take prior to your pet's training. So this is a really handy tool if you want to organize learning resources for members. And then we can provide a link to that learning topic for that event. So it's really a great feature. If that's something that your district is interested in, you just need to contact us at the Learn inbox. I do want to mention the My Favorites. So if you're going through the courses and you find something you really like, you want to share with a non-member or you want to come back to it, for example, grants. Let's say you're not ready to submit a grant application yet, but you will in the future. That's a good example of something you might want to save and reference at a later date. We also have our questions and answers page, which is a page where you can ask questions, and you can also see all of our discussions happening. So on various different topics for our Learning Center, you can ask questions and members can answer questions. Okay. Next, I just want to talk about additional items on the My Dashboard page. It will, in addition to including a list of courses you're enrolled in, you can also see your virtual badges. So as you complete courses, you'll get fancy badges that tell you where you're at. And there's a leaderboard as well. And you can see on that leaderboard who is the most active in the Learning Center. This is just an example of what a learning topic looks like. So new invitation and enrollments. This is where you'll see new items that have been posted to you. And then we also have a page that will show additional topics. That is not what I wanted to press. There we go. And if you look here on the Learning Center, I'm going to navigate to the learning topics. And you can see what I'm talking about. And this does take a second to load because we have a lot of learning topics available. There we go. So this is all resources in Swedish. You're going to see topics that are relevant to you in your area. So this is a really great one, meeting online. So when the pandemic started and we all switched to Zoom and to these meetings, there was a lot of, oh, how do we use this? We need resources. So we created this learning topic to give a lot of great resources on how to run hybrid meetings, a PowerPoint template, just items and resources you might need if you're putting together an electronic meeting, an online meeting. So I did want to highlight that. So those are our learning topics. And you can always navigate back. There's these great arrows back here to all topics, and that will take you back to that page. Or you can use the menu like I showed earlier. Okay. I also wanted to talk a little bit about reporting access. So for district leaders on this call, there are specific roles that have access to reporting. It is the governor line and also our current and incoming district trainers, district membership chairs, and district Rotary Foundation chairs. I do want to mention, if you sign up for these reports, you will want to add 2 email addresses to your contact list, just to make sure that the reports don't go in your spam folder. So you'd add learn@rotary.org and learn@learnmail.rotary.org to your email contact list. And to get report access, you will complete the Access to Learning Center Reports course. Anyone that would have a title in the district should be enrolled in this course, and it will be searchable, or you can search at the top, Access to Learning Center Reports. And when you go to the course, you're going to complete it. We receive weekly reports as to which district leaders have completed that. And then Monday the next week, you'll be enrolled in reports. And what's really handy about this for district leaders is you can see the engagement with the Learning Center in your district. So you can see what members are taking. So it's really handy, and we do recommend signing up for those. And if you are not enrolled in this course or have difficulty or would like additional assistance, you can just contact learn@rotary.org, and we'll confirm that your role has been added to my Rotary, and we'll also make sure to enroll you in the course so you can get started with the reports. Okay, so I want to have a quick poll. I've talked about a lot of things this morning, a lot of great features. We know there's a lot on the Learning Center and it's exciting. So I wanted to ask, and you can just use the chat, what Learning Center course or feature did you learn about today that you are excited to use? So you can just use that chat box. Oh, reports, good. Public image section, yes, we just launched that. A lot of information on how to properly put together a logo with our marks. Professional development, leadership catalog for non-members. Wonderful, this is great. I'm glad you're excited about all these wonderful courses that we've been launching. We know there's a huge need. Excellent. Amazing resources. Thank you. We're really excited to be using the Learning Center and enhancing it. And we look forward to additional topics that might be interesting to you. So always keep us posted. Wonderful. Thank you everybody for putting in those answers. I did want to talk a little bit about how you can stay connected to our team. First, if you would like a presentation on the Learning Center at your club, or if there's another district that you talk to frequently that might be interested in a presentation like this that I'm giving today, you can just send us a request to learn@rotary.org. We can also do multi-district events, so that's something to keep in mind. I also want to say, as you're going through the Learning Center, we're really looking to highlight testimonials for how a course or a learning plan has helped you in your role or enhanced your knowledge, skills, or abilities in a different area. So you can again send that to us at learn@rotary.org. We'd love to hear from you. We also have a newsletter that you can subscribe to. It's called Training Talk. So as you're in my Rotary, you can go to news and media and then click on newsletters. And there you can manage your subscriptions and just click Training Talk, which is highlighted in the red box, and you will be added to that newsletter. We also have a Facebook page, and you can visit our page. You just search Rotary Learning Center, it'll pop up for you. And you can visit our page for new and revised course promotions, data, and tips. In addition, you can share the page or any tips we post to your Facebook feed. This really helps us grow our subscribers and spread the word about the Learning Center. And again, this is where you can contact us. We check the email several times a day. We're always responding to Rotarians. So if you're having issues accessing a course, if you have a question about where something is located, that is where you will email us, learn@rotary.org. And I wanted to make sure we had a little bit of time for questions here. So if there is a question, you can type that in the chat or raise your hand.
Thank you, Megan. While people are thinking about what questions they might have, I want to thank you. This is wonderful. I think the Learning Center is going to be an increasingly important resource for clubs and districts going forward. And so it was really important to me that we begin to educate and really drive home the accessibility of this feature from Rotary International. Absolutely. And its ability to answer so many questions that we encounter daily in our clubs. When I visit clubs, there are always questions that come up. You know, how do we fundraise more effectively? How do we attract members? How do we make sure we have a foundation representative? How do we enhance our public image? How do we manage a meeting? How do we actually hold a meeting in a way that's effective and engages members? Every single one of those questions that I encounter can be answered with usually a relatively short course at the Learning Center. I've taken the Learning Center courses. This is something that frankly, I only started using last year. So this is relatively new to me. And I'll tell you that I'm a testimonial. I'm a living testimonial for you because it has been fantastic. I love it. And what I also love is you can be anywhere and access this and take a quick course if you have a question about Rotary, and it answers your questions in a very concrete way, which is really wonderful. So I'm just going to, this is something I'll give those folks who are interested in the president-elect training a little notice. I'm going to be incorporating the Learning Center into your preparation, the foundational learning that you do before the Northeast Pets, before the president-elect training in March. So this is something that we're going to use. I don't think this has been done before in the district. I'm excited to try this and see how effective it is in making sure that all of our president-elects are on the same wavelength, you know, and have the same tools and the same understanding of their role so that they can go forward and have a fantastic year next year. So now I'm going to stop talking and let anyone who has questions raise a hand, or I'm going to break the first rule that I set, which is we'll do it by chat only. Since we do have some time, people can either unmute and ask a question, or they can raise their hand or put a question in the chat.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Sue Jacobs from Randolph, Sunrise, Randolph, Vermont. When we access this training app, is there anyone, you know, that has done a specific training that they could share with us to just tell us what they learned? That's my question.
So let me understand. So you're asking about the app, if anyone else has used the app for mobile training.
Yeah, specific though. No, that's not what I meant. I want to know if somebody did a specific training on this, a class, and what they got out of it. How did they find it helpful? You know, and so something like that.
Okay, sure. I don't necessarily, I'm newer, so I haven't talked as many Rotarians, but I did have a Rotarian reach out who took one of our public image courses, and it really explained how to prepare a properly made logo for her club, because there are really specific rules as to how you can use the Rotary marks. So that is an example of how it will help you in your club and your everyday. Another example would be the Toastmasters courses. If you are going to be presenting in your club soon and you're feeling nervous, that public speaking is one of those topmost nervy experiences for a lot of people, and that's where those Toastmaster courses go in. So I hope that gives some examples of how you can use these courses.
And Susan, I love that. This is Caroline. I love that question. And I think that we're going to have more and more answers to your question as people become more engaged with the Learning Center and actually see, how it can assist you. So I encourage you, Susan, to be one of our newer engagees with the Learning Center and to get on and see if you have, just pluck a question out of the air that you have for Rotary in your club and plug it into the topics, the search bar, as Megan showed us, and see whether, a 15-minute course online can help answer your question and give you some practical ways to move forward towards a solution, because that is the key here, of course. That we're not doing this for our good health because we all have tons of spare time, right? We're doing it because we have questions that need to be answered.
And I just think it's kind of neat that we can get help if we don't know computer very well, which is something I struggle with, it seems like, on a daily basis, but struggle through and we can get there.
And again, that's why we have staff specifically for learning technology. We know that can be a pain point, and that's why we're here. Just some good tips as you're navigating the Learning Center from my experience. If you're having issues with something loading, you can clear your caches and cookies. You can use an incognito window. We do recommend Google Chrome as the best solution. And if you're still having trouble connecting, you can contact our team. We'll set up a Zoom with you and troubleshoot with you online if you really can't connect. This is our job. We're here to make sure that you can access these courses.
That's
And
wonderful.
I do really love your question, Susan, because now that I understood where you're coming from, that's something that we're trying to do because as you can imagine, during the pandemic, our usership just soared, obviously, on the Learning Center. And it just took off. So we are collecting those stories. And as you're taking that course, please email us afterwards and tell us what your experience was like. We also have course evaluations for each course. So be honest with us. If there's an improvement you'd like to see in those courses, instructional design, when we're putting these together, it's an iterative process. We are constantly updating and changing. And we really want this to be the single source of truth for members. This is where
Megan,
you can come for your answers.
Megan,
Yes,
can you
Carol?
stop your screen share just so we can make
Oh,
sure that
sure.
everybody, and there is a question in the chat, which is, and this is from Stanley, is there a module that might focus on making international connections for Rotarians?
I can check on that, but one good resource might be with our friendship exchange. Our service and engagement team works a lot with connecting clubs, so I can follow up on that one.
Okay, that'd be great. And if you want to share that with me, I can share it out to the district.
Yep, that'll be in my follow-up to you.
Perfect. And we do have 2 raised hands as well.
Wonderful.
We have Braden, if you want to unmute. If you're not raised, no, you got to unraise your hand, I think.
I think he's still saying that he's been to the Learning Center.
Susan Cherry has a question.
Wonderful.
No, I just wanted to share that I enjoyed the Learning Center. Going there for the first time, I loved the way you pace yourself. None of the modules take a lot of time, and it's almost like eating peanuts. You want to do the next one. And then you get this reward at the end by having a certificate. And I'm like, this is really nice. You get the little pat on the back, and I just found it very enjoyable. It was a time that I could increase my Rotary learning and my preparation for district governor year, but really enjoyed the pace that I could set myself. So I would recommend it. And I hope that you all get a chance to just kind of play with that, go around the different modules and see where your interests take you.
Thank you, Susan. And Michael has a hand raised, I think.
Hi, Michael.
Good morning. Thank you. This is great. The Learning Center, I've used it quite a bit, but the specific question I have is social media for a lot of us is sort of a funny place because we're old. Yeah. And our club wants to really utilize social media toward membership. Mm-hmm. Is there something specific in the Learning Center that addresses that?
We don't have as many resources on that yet. It's definitely something that, we encourage, and we have a team internally that does all the Rotary social media. So I can connect you to some resources and find some additional items. We center more about, thinking about branding, thinking about how you communicate out, but I can get you some resources on that for sure. And I think that's a topic that would be excellent to add. I will bring that back to my team. But I know for us, at least for the Learning Center social media, what we do is we have the page loaded, and I have a professional Rotary account that I maintain specifically for Rotary purposes. And then as we post to that Learning Center, we share content. So that's something you could think about as either a district or as a club, creating your own page and then subscribing to, Rotary International, Rotary Learning Center. There's a few more pages as well. And as individuals are posting content, you can just share that content out and make a comment of your own. And that helps really expand your reach as well. So it is a great learning tool, but it does take time to manage. So that's just something to, keep in mind if you launch a page.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Megan. Any other questions? We have time for one more. All right, Megan, you have thoroughly explained the Learning Center. So I think people have their notes, and yes, thank you
Yes.
very, very much. Let's all give Megan a virtual hand.
Oh, thank
you so much, Megan. It was great. And again, Megan, I can only tell folks that Megan is incredibly accessible. So if you reach out to her or the Learn group, they will get back to you fairly swiftly. They can do presentations in your club if that's of interest to you, as Megan offered, which is fantastic. And really, there is a whole world there for the taking at your pace, in wherever, in your hot tub or on your couch or wherever you want to be. You could take advantage of it and enjoy it and learn and continue to do good. So thank you, Megan, so much for being here. We very much appreciate you sharing your Saturday morning with us.
Yes, thank you so much. It was great seeing all of you today. I appreciate your time, and make sure you say hi to Brian for me later today.
We will. Take care. Bye-bye, Megan.
Take care. Bye.
All right. So I hope that's that little intro to the Learning Center, for those of you who have not learned about it before, has got you thinking, has got you interested. We will send out some additional resources from the district, particularly that PDF that Megan mentioned that will allow you to step-by-step get into My Rotary if you have not already accessed that learning feature of Rotary International. So that'll be a nice step-by-step process to get you there. And if you have any questions, of course, we'll follow up with contact information that Megan mentioned during her presentation. So Louisa, if you want to put on the next slideshow for this presentation, the next slideshow really has to do with, hey, District 7850, what does the future hold? Where do we want to go from here? What is that going to look like? So we have started, Susan and I, as I mentioned earlier, Susan Cherry, who is the district governor nominee, and I have started to talk about a strategic plan for the district. And we are going to talk a little bit about that. We did a survey the last week or two, and we received actually some great feedback from that survey about the current district plan that'll give us some ideas going forward. But this is the first opportunity we have to open up the topic district-wide to you folks as to what does the future hold for District 7850? Where do we want to go? Who do we want to be? And let's make sure that we start to think about that and that we put together a plan, because without a goal, you never pretty much reach there. So that's our thought. So we're going to move forward, and we're going to start with the next slide. And Susan is going to start talking to us about what is a strategic plan anyway.
Thank you, Caroline. And Louise, I think going to the next slide will show you what I think about strategic plans. As a director of a nonprofit, I know that without a strategic plan, you can go in lots of different directions by mistake, because a good idea can get you sidetracked. But if you have a good North Star, and that's your strategic plan, then what you have is a guideline or a direction in your vision statement that's going to keep you on track. And I think that's what we're looking for in our next 5 years in Rotary. That's why having the DG track working together on this is so critical. And also that our Rotarians throughout the district are on board, because if we are following the Rotary International Action Plan and we're following our district action plan, then we have some guidance for you as clubs on what you're doing that's going to line up nicely with the North Star that's set for Rotary. So we start with our action plan. Let's go to the next one. In Rotary International, the vision is that we all have different stories about what brought us to Rotary, what keeps us in Rotary. The common bond is this one, all right? And you're going to see this quite a bit in a lot of Rotary International in the Learning Center, as well as in some of the literature. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. So that brings us to the full spectrum of what Rotary is all about. Our lovely, wonderful clubs do things locally that make a difference in serving our communities. Our district supports that in giving you the resources and the guidance and the kind of North Star that will help you to reach your goals as a club. We lean on our Rotary International friends in the zone and in our connections around the globe to help us figure out what are best practices. How are people doing this in a way that helps us connect with each other, create lasting change, and really be part of that North Star that Rotary International has given us through our action plan. Thank you, Louisa. Caroline. Caroline, start again, please.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Susan. And thank you for that imagery of the North Star, which helps us understand a strategic plan in sort of a visual way, which is, well, where are we headed? What is the direction and how do we follow that direction? So as part of our process, and we are again at the very beginning of this process for the district, I wanted to send out a quick poll to our district Rotarians and figure out how many of you had reviewed the prior strategic plan and a few other questions. And so while my Survey Monkey skills are apparently fairly bad based on the number of responses I got, it was a shot. It was an off. You know, it was my first effort, and frankly, it gave us some really interesting information. Some of which I'm going to share with you today, and some of which is more detailed, but which gives Susan and I some really interesting ideas for moving forward. And so the first question that I had in this Survey Monkey survey about the strategic plan was, guess what? We have a strategic plan. We had one that was created a few years ago, almost a decade old now, and that was intended to guide us as that North Star for a period of 3 years or so, if I recall correctly, 3 to 5 years. And so I wanted to know, first of all, how many of you as district Rotarians had actually ever seen this prior strategic plan? Because of course, a strategic plan, as everyone knows who's dealt with them before, is only as good as the people who actually implement it, right? If you're aware of it, and if you know it exists, and if you're engaged with it, and you want to follow that strategic plan, that North Star, that's a great thing. But if you don't even know a strategic plan exists, that's not really getting us where we need to go. So what I learned from you folks was of the sampling, and albeit it was a fairly small sampling, but of the sampling of folks who responded to the survey, only 21% of you had actually ever reviewed the prior strategic plan. So the first big bit of information that gave us, Susan and myself, as we start this adventure was, hey, we need to increase your engagement with strategic planning. We need to make sure you folks are engaged, interested, and involved in this process, because 21% does not represent a collaborative, collective environment for creating a strategic plan that will truly guide this district and every Rotarian in it forward. Next slide, please. So then I asked in this survey, we asked, what are the goals for the next strategic plan? If you could choose, fellow Rotarian, any goal that would be present in our next strategic plan, what would it be? And this was dynamite. We got a ton of responses from you folks. And again, I'm not showing every single response here, and I certainly condensed some of the responses because they were thematic, but these are the themes that kept coming out. Increasing membership was a key one that a lot of people mentioned. Diversity. How do we achieve diversity? That is an important aspect of going forward as a district. Club collaboration across the district. More and more of you are, as a smaller size club, are looking to see how you can make sure that your impact continues. And one of the ways to do that is club collaboration. How do we support that as a district? Hands-on local projects. There are many of you who are involved in international projects, but many of us want to immediately impact the people right in our community. So there was a question about working that into our strategic plan. Succession planning for club committees and district. Many of us have clubs that have had a treasurer or a secretary in place for 10 or 15 years. Those people deserve to retire at some point. We need a succession plan. So how do we do that? And similarly for the district, engaging our community. We are one voice. We Rotarians are one voice among many. How do we make our voice heard? How does our engagement with our community, how does that work, and how can we enhance that? Visibility. You know, how many times do I talk to someone and ask them about Rotary and they don't really understand what Rotary is or haven't really ever engaged with Rotary? So how do we enhance our visibility? You know, Michael had a great point about social media and using social media and learning how to use that effectively. And if that becomes part of the Learning Center, I'll make sure that District 7850 and Michael gets credit for that. Increasing the number of clubs in Canada. I loved this one. I think that's a fantastic idea. We applaud ourselves for being an international district. We cross a boundary, 2 countries. We need to make sure we're promoting our Quebec friends, our Rotarians, and make sure we're promoting clubs within their area as well. Use of social media we talked about. Greater structure to the district and its engagement with clubs. This is one, I'll tell you, that drives home to me. Anybody who's been on the district governor track realizes that we need to make sure that we have many hands at the wheel on the district level. And so we want to make sure that we're engaging. And that was something that a few folks mentioned. Increasing excitement about Rotary was something that someone mentioned. You know, we want to make sure that when people hear about Rotary, they immediately, are engaged and excited by what Rotary is doing, because they know Rotary stands for excitement and engagement. Engaging youth with service projects. Clearly, our district has some interest in that. There were a number of answers that talked about that. And then efficient preparation of club officers for their roles, especially club president. We had a lot of comments today about how the Learning Center can help our club presidents and president-elects engage and be prepared for their roles. So these were many, these ideas and many others were provided to Susan and I to begin to think about what a strategic plan would look like. Now, will all of these ultimately make their way to a final strategic plan? Well, you know what? That depends on you folks. That depends on you and what you decide are the priorities that we need to truly focus on over the next 3 to 5 years. But I was very thrilled to get all of these suggestions, and it gives us a place to start the conversation, which is what we're doing with you today. Next slide, please. So what are our next steps? So the reason Susan and I are mentioning this today to you, the reason we're putting this on the table right now is because we are at the beginning of this process. And what we need to do is design a process that invites all of you to participate to the extent that you want to, in the way that is accessible and meaningful for you. So we are beginning to think about what that process looks like. We want to solicit other stakeholder input. So we want to make sure that whatever process we come up with for this district strategic plan, we make sure that we reach out to our collaborators. There are businesses that you each reach out to in your clubs who are collaborators with you to get things done, whether it's donations or service projects. There are government entities that you often can take advantage of, combine with, collaborate with to get things done in your communities. How do we make sure they have a voice too? Because you know what? They have a stake in the success of Rotary. These folks know what we do for our communities and our country and our world. They have a stake in where we go. And we want to make sure that we also invite them into this dialogue, as well as, of course, our community, our entire community. There have been discussions in the past, I've heard them in clubs, about community surveys. Is my club actually doing what the community wants us to do? Are we providing services in a way that's actually speaking to the kinds of things the community is engaged with and wants to make their priorities? Well, this is something that we need to do, is to make sure we involve those community partners in this discussion about our strategic plan. So we need to design a process that does that. We also need to create a reasonable time frame for completion. Susan, I don't want to overtalk. If you want to jump in, feel free.
So this is really fascinating as a process, because as we discover what works well in this process, I think we're going to start inviting our club members to be, I think of them like spies. Who in your club is showing real leadership? Who in your club knows about strategic planning? Who in your club would you recommend helping at a district level? And if you think about that as, we don't know your clubs as well as you do, and a process kind of way, we'd love to invite you to be the spies in your club. Who are the emerging leaders that you see? Who are the people that could really benefit by sharing their expertise with the district, so that more clubs can benefit from what they know and are able to do? So as we create this process, we're thinking about this as an invitation on a broader scale too, because we'll learn what helps our Rotarians across the district become engaged. All right, thanks, Caroline.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Susan. And of course, the final two pieces that Susan and I will consider in framing, creating this process, is how do we create a reasonable time frame for completion? We would like to get this accomplished in the next 1.5 years or so, because we do want Susan's year to move forward with a strategic plan in place that our entire district can be proud of and is vested in. And then that'll set up Monique, of course, for a fantastic North Star as well. And then we anticipate a final product that's accessible with concrete action steps, benchmarks, and accountability. Again, many of us have seen a strategic plan that gathers dust on a shelf. It looks pretty, but nobody's really using it or referring to it on a day-to-day or monthly or yearly basis. And that's what we don't want to have happen with this, which is why we're starting a process. We want to be thoughtful about that process, and we want to make sure we maximize it for engagement and to actually move the district forward concretely to be successful in the way that you envision success. Next slide, please. So I also had a question in the survey that asked, who wants to join the committee? Susan mentioned this as well, right? We want to know who in your area has some talents and some interest and some passion for this. Influencing the future is a fun thing to do. And so we put out a question, if anyone who might be interested in joining the committee. Now, some people would look at that 12% and they would look at it and say, well, 12% is, that's low. I look at that 12% and I'm excited because out of the people who responded to the survey, that represents about 7 to 10 people. So, our committee doesn't need to be extraordinarily large. It simply needs to be effective, and we need to have representation from all over our district. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm going to put that out there again. The question I'm going to pose to everyone is, who is interested in lending their passions and talents to this? Who's interested in defining the future of our district? And if you are, take a snapshot of this, take a screenshot here. And I have my email and my cell phone number there. The commitment that I'm thinking that we would, and actually we have a little comment in the chat here from James. And James, I'm going to get to that. You raise a good point. We're looking at, I think realistically, we're probably looking at each individual committee member maybe spending about 15 to 20 hours over the next 2 years. Anyone who knows me and has spent any time with me knows that I'm incredibly impatient and I move quickly. So I will tell you that we're going to design a process that will be efficient and will move forward in a way that maximizes our effectiveness and makes sure that we are being respectful of your time and your energies. And in terms of the question, the comment that was posed, James, your point is well taken. The 2 years from my perspective is not 2 years spent creating a strategic plan, but rather it's defining our, we have to spend time defining our process. We have to spend time creating a committee. We have to spend time gathering the intel. We have to then spend time creating a draft. In other words, there are various stages along in that process. And then the final stage of that process, which would be included in that 1.5 to 2 year estimate, is promoting it, making sure we're getting out there, we're talking about it, the clubs are aware of it, and people are really, Susan Jacobs, you just scared me, that people are, people are really engaged with this. So that's kind of the vision. Could we take less time? That's very possible. It will depend on the efficiency of the committee, but all of this depends on the process. And again, we are just at the very first step. So we're at square one. And part of that is defining the process and how we move forward. Susan, any thoughts to add about that and those comments?
Well, I've written several strategic plans and been the chair of our municipal plan for a couple of different planning processes. It's never taken us 2 years to do it. So I encourage Susan to take a breath, and James, I agree with you. The creation of a plan really does not need to take that long, but I think what Caroline is saying is that we don't want to rush into and we want to do it well. So once we get our committee together, we could really see some initiative and put something for people to review within a short period of time. So I would say saddle up. Let's see what we do with this. And the process is as exciting as the product.
Yeah, and James, I love your comments. I say join our committee and help us be aggressive and get this done in an efficient way that definitely could move us forward. DG Mike has a comment. Doesn't RI have a template, at least to begin with? Yes, they have. Someone actually had a wonderful comment on the survey, which was that I hope that you start by referring to Rotary's action plan. And Megan actually in her presentation mentioned that there are strategic planning tools for the districts and an action plan that we can refer to. So certainly those are all part of us. We are again, folks, we're at the very beginning, square one. So the first thing we're doing is looking at what resources are available out there to help us make this an efficient, effective process. So we're throwing the gauntlet to you, and James and others, please pick it up, join us in this adventure. And I think that it's going to be an exciting one, just based on the energy we're feeling from folks. I think it's going to be an exciting one. And I think, you know, it's an important process. So so that is kind of where we are. Any other questions? Louise, I don't know if there's another slide there. You can move forward. Yeah, this is a guy who was introduced to me through a business group I'm involved with, Simon Sinek. And he says, dream big, start small, but most of all, start. And that's where we are right now. We are starting. I dream big. And I know some of you out there do as well. But of course, we need to start small. So this is where we start, with introducing the topic to you and getting going. And agree with Jamie, getting started is half the battle. So next slide, please, Louisa. And Donna has asked us to share the existing plans. So yes, we will do that. So one of the things that I will do and follow up to this, this presentation, because I know that Michael, you had mentioned it, Michael Swagner as well. I'm not going to read the existing plan to you right now. I think that might be a little much for today, but I will share it with you. And I will say it is on the website, is available at the Rotary District website, 7850. You can go there and look up district documents and you can find it there, but I will also plan to email it to you through our general district distribution email, so that if you want to review it, you certainly can do so and take a look at it. I think that's a wonderful place to start, is that folks who are interested in the process go ahead and take a look at what currently exists, because we want to make sure that we build on that. So in brief, lend us your talents. If you've got a passion, if this has excited you, if this has dismayed you, if this has terrified you, good reason to get on our committee and help us out, because we can use your guidance and your energy to make sure we make this a process that works for all of you in the district. So please take out your phone, take a snapshot, a screenshot, a picture of this, this roster here. This is your district team roster: DG Mike, DGE myself, DGN Susan, and DGND Monique. These are our emails. You are welcomed and encouraged to reach out to us at any time if you have any comments about the district, if you want to get involved in the strategic plan, or if you want to get involved in any other district committee. We really would love to hear from you at any time. We are the people who work for you. We're working to make sure that your Rotary experience is nothing short of fantastic. So please reach out to us, keep these emails, keep these names, and we look forward to hearing from you. Susan, any other words you want to add? And then we can maybe throw the floor open to a few questions and dialogue.
No, actually, I think you're covering it well, and I appreciate the comments because, like I said, I've never really done a strategic plan that lasted, the creation of that lasted more than a year, because we do have priorities that are consistent with where we're going right now. But we also know that plans can be adjusted and tweaked based on what we're seeing in the area. I think if we look back toward, you know, the last couple of years, we couldn't have planned for what we needed. And so we've all had to tweak and adjust, and we do that well with Rotary. I think the flexibility of the way our clubs work and the flexibility of the way our district leadership team works adjusts and is flexible along with the needs that we're seeing. So this is a template, it's a guideline. We don't want to adjust our vision. We want to make sure that we sugar it down to what's really important. We're hearing from you that certainly that engagement and membership and diversity is aligning really well with Rotary International. So that's probably going to end up being part of our action plan, but we want to get the high level, the 30,000 feet level first, and then we'll pull it back down into the actions and the specific plans that will get us through the next couple of years. So thank you all for thinking about this and for reacting and helping us to really invite you and to receive that invitation on your own behalf, that this is something that we would love to have your engagement and your involvement to help us to develop this plan. So thank you, Caroline. I love that we're having this conversation now, and I look forward to getting your email to all of us about how to get involved.
Yeah, beautifully said. And so we have a few minutes. Any questions, comments that folks want to make out loud, you can unmute and share with the group. Wonderful. Thank you, Susan. I can't see Susan.
Hi, this is Jim Hodge, the so-called Jimmies. And
Yeah.
at the risk of getting myself in trouble, so I'm basically brand new to Rotary.
Sure.
And astounded to find myself being president of the Stowe Club. But I would give you some things to think about. One is in the process of doing it, I've always used when I've tried to mentor people or businesses, vision, communication, execution, change. You can go most through any business, any military operation, any government, and see those are four things which are paramount to happen in real time. The second thing is when you put together a strategic plan, the first thing you have to do is identify exactly where you are. The second thing is then the vision. Where do you want to be? Then it becomes a fairly straightforward business process, if you will, to lay out the steps to get from point A to B. I've never seen a small business or a large business, an IBM reinvent itself, that's taken it more than a year. A Microsoft under new leadership,
Thank you.
reinvent itself, take it more than a year.
Thank you, Jim. Those are great comments. And again, you know, I'm glad welcome to Rotary, number one, if you're new to Rotary, and I would love to have you involved. So please, I hope you took a
That's why I'm
screenshot
hesitant
of
to speak up. So what am I getting myself into? Because we've had enough problems going on in Stowe. So-
Well, fair enough, but we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take a couple minute break, probably 3-4 minutes. Brian King is here. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. And we are excited to hear your presentation next at 10:30, but we're going to allow folks to take a quick break for a few minutes, be back here at 10:30, and we will start the next presentation. Thank you so much.
I feel like I should have introductory music here.
Just looking at your face is music enough.
So what song are you going to sing to us, Louisa?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Or Larry, I think he's volunteering, actually.
There you go.
Duet? All right.
I miss seeing all you guys at the conference.
Agreed.
Mom, I took my mom to Anchorage. We had to settle some stuff for my brother's stay, so we flew into Boston and got home late last night. And I woke up with, you know, that gravelly voice. When you said sing, I was thinking, maybe a little Billie Holiday or something.
It's okay. She was pretty famous.
Yeah, and I wouldn't do her justice at all.
There you go. How was Anchorage?
It was actually really nice. It was a very, very short trip, but it was better to be up there in person. The vital records in DMV got broken into over this last year, got hacked into. So, you know, dealing with them through mail just has been a nightmare. Anyway, so going up there actually worked out well.
It was a nice relief, huh?
And it's, you know, it's beautiful country up there, you know. Yeah, anyway. Oh, but they got 18 inches of snow as we were flying out. It was starting, and I texted somebody we know up there, and they said, yeah, we got 18 inches in the next 12 hours. Crazy.
You got out just in time. Thanks again for being at the club for the foundation work.
It was so much fun. It was nice to see Carol. Actually, it was nice to see everybody. I really miss those in-person
I know.
meetings. I know it's not the new thing to do, but I just really miss.
Yeah.
Louisa, there was a question during the introductory kind of presentation, I think, about the short course, foundation course, the refresher.
We haven't been having it. We've combined them over the last couple of years because we really can't do 2 online ones. So the long course has been shortened and the short course has been lengthened. So
Okay.
It actually allows people who have been in the course before, it allows me to bring people into the discussion to talk about their experiences. So I think it works out pretty well.
Okay, great, good. We should make sure we send that out to the district so folks know that those are combined now. We'll get that out. And
yeah,
Susan
we might
Jacob,
change it when we're in person, but
yeah. Susan Jacob, just want to say thank you for reaching out about the strategic plan. If you want to put your email in the chat to me, I will reach out to you as well. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Well, I just know that our club is looking to do that. It's been on our minds, our thoughts, and our community, and what our club wants to do. And I'm thinking, oh boy, what do I know about strategic planning? Well, jump in, learn.
Yeah, well, feel free just to private message me your email, and we'll get you in the loop. So thank you. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed a couple minutes of break. And I am so delighted now to welcome Brian King. Brian, thank you so much for being our star here, showing up. Megan Timmons started the day for Rotary International, giving us some great learning center opportunities, and she wanted us to tell you hello. And now you're here as well. So we love having Rotary International work for us, Brian. So so thank you so much. So Brian is the Director of Membership Development at Rotary International, and he was born in Nairobi, Kenya, fascinating, where he lived until he was 7 years old. Brian then moved to Des Moines, Iowa, where he grew up. Brian earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in Anthropology and Psychology from the University of Iowa. He completed his master's degree at the University of Florida in anthropology as well, with a specialization in African Studies and Development Administration. Brian currently resides in Evanston, Illinois, the home of Northwestern University, and of course, the world headquarters of Rotary International. Brian began working for Rotary International in 2001. He has held a number of positions within the Rotary Foundation's Development Office, including the Director of International Fundraising and Director of Annual Giving and Alumni Relations. Brian currently serves as the Director of Membership Development for Rotary International, a position he assumed in December 2014. As Director of Membership Development, Brian leads a global team who develop and implement targeted efforts at the club, district, zone, and organizational level, with the ultimate objective of strengthening each club's capacity to attract and engage a vibrant and diverse member base. Great goal, Brian. Brian is married and the father of 2 sons, Dylan and Ben. In his free time, Brian coaches youth soccer and enjoys running, gardening, and most things outdoors. Brian is also a proud member of the Rotary Club of Evanston, a Rotary Foundation benefactor, and a multiple Paul Harris Fellow. Brian, we're so delighted to have you. Please take it away.
Thanks so much, Caroline, and good morning, everyone. It is still good morning over there. Often I have these opportunities to join virtual events, and often they're international in nature. And my most common go-to greeting now, given the connectivity that Rotary has afforded us all, is good local time zone, just in case we've got some folks on the other side of the world. But it is indeed a good morning for us all today. And thanks for the opportunity to be with you. And thanks for that that bio. I feel like I've provided, you now know a little bit about me and my background. And I just want to assure you that it is the natural progression to go from Nairobi, Kenya to Des Moines, Iowa. That's a very common practice that I've found over the years. But it's a real pleasure to work for Rotary, and it's a real pleasure to be with you today. Last month, I celebrated my 20th Rotiversary as an employee of Rotary International. And as Caroline said, I'm also a proud member of the Rotary Club of Evanston. I'm actually my club's president-elect, so I'm really excited. I was taking notes from Megan Timmons on all the great learning courses that I'll make sure I take as I prepare to lead my club in the coming year as well. But seriously, it's a joy to be here. I've never had the opportunity to visit your district in my 20 years with Rotary. So thanks for this first opportunity. I hope someday I can do it in person. In fact, as Caroline said, I have two boys, one who is a sophomore in high school, and next year we're going to start doing those treks to visit different universities. And I must say Burlington, Vermont, and the University of Vermont is on his list. So I do look forward to visiting your district in person, perhaps next summer. Anyway, today, I just really hope that we could have a conversation. I've learned over the years, as I enter someone's home, I would much prefer to listen and learn and then discuss about the decor in the home. I'm not one to come into somebody's home and tell you how to decorate, tell you what color would better match the curtains as far as your upholstery and whatnot. And so before I share some really exciting opportunities to really get the most out of your Rotary membership, I'd like to kind of learn a little bit about you, hear what's on your mind, and maybe first just encourage you to get back into that chat, and by starting by sharing perhaps your tenure with Rotary. How long have you been a member of Rotary? I understand James Hodge, you're relatively new. I suspect there's some others that have been in Rotary a long time. Let's kind of see what breadth of Rotary experience and knowledge we have in this room together. Can anyone beat Caroline's 7 years? There we go, 23 years. This is terrific. So we've got 30 years, 31 years. This is extraordinary. As we're taking a look at this, for those that might be newer, those 1, 2, 3-year-old Rotary members, take a look at some of these folks that have been in Rotary for 30 years. I encourage you to kind of maybe reach out to them, send them a chat, try to connect with them to learn a little bit more about their experience with Rotary. What has prompted Ron to be a proud and loyal member of Rotary for 18 years, right? There's an incredible experience here and passion. And I can assure you a lot of it will extend even beyond the club experience. And that's a little bit of what I wanted to talk with you about today. And there are just tremendous opportunities to derive value out of your Rotary membership, and wanted to share some of that with you all. Hopefully we can all learn from one another and the opportunities that we've all enjoyed. So now, given all that knowledge and experience, I'd be curious now to hear from you all as to why you joined. Marilyn 17 years ago, or Sheila 20 years ago. What inspired you to join Rotary in the first place?
Feel free to unmute, folks.
We see eliminating polio, fellowship and networking. Yeah, local community service. I think Caroline had mentioned that came out of the survey as well, right? People are looking to have an impact locally. Yeah, desire to learn and engage with my community, connecting with community leaders. Kelly's a 3rd generation Rotarian. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's interesting. We're seeing a lot of reasons for joining, a lot of similarities, right? And that's something I want to talk about in just a moment. And before I do, I'll occasionally share my screen, and I'll do so again. I wanted to have this conversation with you all today and talk about kind of maximizing your membership experience and getting those things that drew you into Rotary in the first place. I want to talk about that in the context of Rotary's action plan. There was just a great discussion about the strategic planning effort underway for the district. Again, I can assure you it is very well aligned with Rotary International's strategic plan, which we actually call an action plan. And I liked what Caroline had said, because there's no point in doing a strategic planning effort if that plan is just going to sit on the shelf, right? And that's partly why Rotary International isn't even referring to our strategic plan as a strategic plan. It is an action plan. It is something that is living, breathing, and we're putting into place at Rotary International at the regional level and for districts and clubs to build upon as well. And that action plan is really built around 4 strategic priorities, right? It's enhancing the organization's reach, right? How do we welcome more participants under the Rotary tent? How do we increase our ability to adapt? Yeah, unfortunately, Rotary is a 115-year-old organization, and sometimes we move at glacial speed, if you will. How can we be a little bit more nimble, right? How can we, again, to Caroline's point, be faster? Let's be a little impatient, right? And get off the sidelines. But how do we increase our ability to adapt? Obviously, we've seen the need to adapt over these past 18 to 20 months, again, by necessity. How can we build that into Rotary's culture going forward? Also, how do we kind of increase participant engagement? How do we enhance the membership and participant experience? And finally, how do we increase our impact, right? How do we ensure we are improving the lives of others as well as our own lives? But for the purposes of our time together today, I really wanted to focus on engagement, really enhancing participant engagement as one of Rotary's core strategic priorities. And it's really the core of everything that we do, I would suggest. I'm perhaps a little bit biased as your Director of Membership Development. I see expanding our reach and enhancing participant engagement as critically important because I view Rotary as a membership organization. Right? It is our members that do the service. It is our members that connect with one another and others and bring communities together. It all starts with you as our members. And so how do we expand our reach and increase and diversify our membership as well as other participant groups? And then how do we ensure that we're constantly delivering value to you? Right? How do we ensure you are getting more out of your Rotary experience than you put in through your time and financial resources and otherwise? So again, that's really what I want to focus on today. How do we put our members first? And what's important to put our members first is to first understand, again, what it is that motivates and drives our members, right? And that's why I wanted to kind of encourage you to share in your chat why you joined Rotary in the first place. Wanted to talk about that a little bit. And again, what it really boiled down to, what I saw were kind of some primary and very consistent themes that we see globally, right? People wanted to join for local service. I saw that. People wanted to join for connections, networking, building relationships and all that. And also kind of learning about your community, growing personally and professionally, and getting engaged with others that can help us all kind of strengthen our networks and strengthen ourselves. And so anything I missed there, were there any other reasons, Caroline, that perhaps I missed in the chat or something that we can dig into before I share kind of what our international or global research findings are telling us?
I think those are wonderful. Thank you, Brian.
Great, thank you. And so as we're going to discuss this morning, there's a lot of ways for you to get those aspects out of Rotary, both through your club, through your district, and through Rotary International. There's a few things that I'm sharing with you on the screen here today, some things I want to talk about. We have a new member welcome campaign that we're sending out to really introduce new members to the great wide world of Rotary that extends even beyond the club and the district. We have just incredible events, right? The district puts on some really great training and networking and service events. Obviously, there's regional events, there's presidential conferences that the Rotary International president hosts each year. And obviously, we have our culminating premier event, the Rotary International Convention, this year being held in Houston, Texas. Incredible events to engage, build those networks, right? Grow personally and professionally, and even develop relationships and learn how to do more impactful service projects. Again, something that had been touched on. And then we have tremendous tools, like online tools, all available to you as members on Rotary's website. We have a dedicated members only page called My Rotary that I suspect many of you are aware of. Megan talked about how the Learning Center lives behind My Rotary. So once you go in and log into My Rotary, you have access to that incredibly robust online learning center, which you can access also at rotary.org/learn. We also have these great discussion groups. I think it was Stanley who was asking about international connections. There's discussion groups that are dedicated to international friendship exchanges and international travel, right? And hosting Rotarians. So there's ways to go into my Rotary and get connected with other people that share your interests, and you can start building those relationships, as well as Rotary fellowships and action groups. Incredible opportunities to connect with others who share your interests or your passions. And then also, one of my favorite benefits of Rotary membership is the international passport that our Rotary pin affords us. We can visit any of 46,000 Rotary or Rotaract clubs around the world because we are members of this incredible organization. We have instant access to local business and community leaders wherever we travel, both in person eventually when we're able to do that, but also virtually. We can be visiting other clubs around the world to kind of see Rotary in action in another community that perhaps you're looking to develop relationships with. So great opportunities to engage and get a little bit more out of your Rotary membership. So what I'd like to do is just pause right here to see if there's any of these opportunities or others that you're aware of or you want to learn a little bit more about that I can share with you. We can kind of have a conversation about some of these really great, exciting opportunities that are for you, that are intended to help you do those things that brought you to Rotary in the first place, right? How are you building your connections both locally and globally? How are you developing service projects, and what tools are you using to strengthen the projects that you are implementing? And I'll leave the Learning Center aside because we had a dedicated session on that, but obviously that's one of those tools to help us, right, to grow personally and professionally as well.
We have had the Rotary Leadership Institute in the past, Brian. That has been a component that was, I believe it was taken off the plate during COVID, I think, if I recall correctly. But it is something in the past that is just, I know that when I was a newer Rotarian, I attended that, and it really jump-started my understanding of Rotary, the bigger picture of Rotary, and kind of what it's all about. And frankly, just how I can develop my own professional skill set and personal skill set through Rotary for free. So, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, great point. And I was just reflecting on your efforts to kind of recruit a team to help with the strategic planning effort, right? And here's opportunities when you think about it within Rotary, right? We have a chance to help drive a strategic plan for our club and for our district. But what's so great about that is those are transferable skills, right? That we can then take back into our business or to other organizations that you might serving on the board for that might be lacking that vision, that strategic plan. So the things that we're learning and able to implement in Rotary are things that we're able to apply to our personal and professional lives as well. And I think often we take that for granted and forget how much we as members benefit and grow from our Rotary membership.
And I think, Brian, that's a really good point. I think that's actually an incredible opportunity to integrate newer Rotarians, perhaps also from a diverse perspective, younger or diverse Rotarians into our organization, is to have them understand the benefits that they can draw from the organization that'll impact all areas of their life, not just making them feel good about doing great things for the world and for their community, but also just, it doesn't hurt also to pick up some skills that benefit you professionally and personally too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing some great comments in the chat, and one I wanted to acknowledge, forgive me, is it Armand who had mentioned something about not focusing just on leaders, and I think that's an important point. Often when I use leaders, I use it in a very inclusive way. It's not just business or even community leaders, but it's thought leaders as well, right? Leaders by mindset, not necessarily title or even or tenure in an organization, but people that want to be engaged and contribute to a stronger community. Those are leaders in my mind. So, but very important point that we want to ensure that we are being inclusive and we are reaching a broad, diverse group of people that can help move the organization forward. I also saw a comment about kind of increasing kind of excitement, enthusiasm, and engagement, right? How do we kind of re-energize and activate our members? I think it's a great question. I thought I'd just come back to some of the research findings that Rotary International has found, just to help kind of set the stage. Very consistent with what you all provided in the chat as to why people join Rotary in the first place, right? Globally, we see local community service, the opportunity for friendship and fellowship, and those professional and leadership development opportunities being kind of the top 3 reasons that people want to get involved in Rotary to begin with. And they might vary a little bit by age or geography in terms of the order or the priority here. And they might even vary a little bit among your clubs and your members, but these are pretty consistent themes. And if we look into the data a little bit further, because I love numbers, especially on a Saturday morning. I just love swimming in the deep end of the data pool. But if we look at the survey results, and we regularly survey our members. In fact, many of you probably just received an invitation to participate in our latest round of kind of member experience and satisfaction research that we do. So we understand what it is that you as members value, what do you want, and how can Rotary International commit to serving you. That's why we conduct these surveys. That's why we ask these questions. And the last round of surveys, this is what our members told us. Community service, again, local service is the primary reason that people join and you can see stay. And then followed by friendship and fellowship, and then the professional connections and personal growth and leadership is a kind of a second and third reason. What's interesting though is when you look down to the second bar on this graph, the reasons that people stay, look how many more respondents select friendship and fellowship. Right, so we join for the community service and maybe some, building some professional connections and networking, and that is a viable and a really worthy reason for joining. We find that people stay because of the friendships and the connections that they make. And I think that's something really important to remember. Getting back to Karen's point, again, how do we increase excitement and engagement? First thing I would say is making sure that we're constantly talking to our members and asking them what it is that they want out of their membership, right? Again, did they join for a overpriced and potentially overcooked chicken lunch or dinner, or did they join to do local community service? And then the next question is our club offering a robust menu of service opportunities, right? That again are meeting the needs and the expectations of our of that particular member or of those members, right? Are we providing social opportunities to build relationships, true connections and friendships, right? Or is our meetings and events so scripted and overly planned that there's very little time for those serendipitous moments where we can just connect and chat. And so if you're delivering those things, then your members are likely going to be more satisfied. If they're not more satisfied, let's understand why and committing to delivering the things that they're looking for. And if an existing club can't deliver those things or is unwilling to, let's work with the district to identify, maybe we can find a different club that could be a better fit. Or maybe we should start a new club that can meet the expectations of some members that perhaps aren't satisfied with what an existing club is offering. So it really comes back to constantly asking what our members want and committing to deliver it. As I mentioned, I love data. And so before I kind of go back to the chat and invite you to ask some specific questions about what Rotary International can do to support you, I thought I'd just share a few more really kind of accurate charts, some really compelling data. Because like I said, I love the data. I'm sure all of you love data as well, particularly on a weekend. But it's so powerful when it can really convey a story, right? It tells us something very clear and obvious by just looking at the data. And so here's one accurate pie chart that I think is really compelling. As you can see, both the sunny and the shady sides of this pyramid is clearly visible. One more pie chart I'd like to share with you. This is a pretty accurate pie chart where you can see the red part is clearly Japan. The white part of this chart is also Japan. And perhaps the third accurate pie chart I wanted to share as we're leading up to lunchtime, I thought this would be particularly appropriate. This is my favorite accurate pie chart that I think, again, it just really conveys what's happening based on the data that's available. And so with that, I'm going to stop taking you through my swim through the data pool. Hopefully I got you to at least smile a little bit and recognize that I really have no reason for sharing those accurate pie charts rather than wanting to open things up for a conversation here today. Caroline, any questions or comments in the chat that I can address now?
I don't think so right now. You did a good job of scanning that. I did have a question, Brian, as to how the data that you showed that had to do with why folks join Rotary and why folks stay in Rotary. How does that impact Rotary International's view of the international piece? Because I was fascinated by the fact that the community service is the biggest, one of the biggest pieces of both of those pie charts. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a great observation. And I do think we study this a lot, and I was shocked. As you mentioned in my introduction, I've been with Rotary for 20 years. 13 of those years, I was raising money for the Rotary Foundation. I am passionate about our Rotary Foundation and the global impact that we have through it. But I joined Rotary because I wanted to get more actively involved in Evanston. Right, I wanted to learn more about the community, get connected with local leaders, and improve Evanston. That was my primary driver. Like we heard from many of you, so many people wanted to join to impact the local community. But then we can use that as a springboard, right? As we can do that, we can learn how to do impactful projects. We can build relationships with other clubs, right? And then do even larger impactful projects. Maybe it's still local in the district, but you're collaborating with other clubs to do a bigger project. But then maybe you find a partner with some Rotary clubs in Haiti, and you realize that they're looking to do maybe a water project or something around education or girls empowerment, and you can build these partnerships, right? And you have some experience in developing projects locally, so it's a springboard. Through our research, we do see that international service does gain some greater interest among members for staying. That's why they stay, after they've been able to build their local networks and build relationships locally, and they have those structures in place. Maybe they even kind of built their professional leadership skills early in their Rotary career, then international service kind of rises. We're also seeing international service being rated slightly higher among younger professionals. So if we're looking at Rotaractors and perhaps some prospective members under the age of 35, international service does seem to rate a little bit higher, but it's still local service that's the priority.
Wonderful. You did have a comment in the, I think Lee's asked, can we get a copy of your resource list slide? She was wondering about that. I don't know whether you could put that up and people could just take a screenshot of it, or if you want to get it, your slide presentation to me, Brian, either way would probably work. And then finally, I was going to say that I loved your comment in response to, I think it was Susan's Jacob's question or comment, which was offer the club a robust menu of service opportunities. I loved that phrase, because it just shows that everyone is triggered by different passions and different interests. And, I go to many clubs, including my own, where, we have fallen in potentially sometimes to this pattern of having the same service projects every year. And that really doesn't excite sometimes new people or, maybe even re-engage members who have been there a while. I thought that was interesting. The robust aspect of that was interesting. And I wondered what the resources are available to clubs who want to think outside the box in terms of service projects.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I do think choice is critical just in today's world, right? And everything that we do, right? We don't want to wait for our favorite show to come on TV, right? We'll just watch it on Netflix or DVR it and skip the commercials, right? We don't want to wait for a taxi. We'll call an Uber or a Lyft. We have choices. We have so many options. We have to be prepared to deliver on that same expectation to our members and prospective members. So variety and meeting them where they are, right? This is the one project, it's only on this day, this time of day, every week or every month or whatever it is. We're potentially leaving people out from that opportunity. So really listen to your members and deliver that variety, or that menu, if you will. Susan, I see you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
So I just wanted to respond. Karen Butler in the chat had talked about hurt feelings, and I just would love to reference your slide that showed why people join and why people stay. And sometimes the hurt feelings can be in the why people stay category, in the friendships and the relationships. And I see that part of the resources that we want to offer as a district and as Rotary International is helping people find their first love. Why do they join? And if we can reconnect people back to that first love of Rotary and offer, I love that wide menu piece, then I think we can overcome some of the conflicts that come along the way that are part of the why we're staying. And I think, those slides really help us to focus on, why did we join in the first place? And what is our first love for Rotary? So just part of that conflict resolution, reconnecting people with the heart. Thank you.
Yeah, really great point. Really, this is kind of generally how I like to conclude my remarks, is a little bit more on the research. And like I said, we've seen what our members are telling us, right? What inspires them to join and stay. But what's really interesting is when we really dig into the data and do some analysis, we find that there's kind of one single driver of member satisfaction that leads to retention. And it's none of those things. Again, those are the things that brought us here, but it's comfort. The feeling of belonging and being welcomed in your club and being comfortable with your fellow members, that is the single most important thing. So are we providing a welcoming environment to all of our members and prospective members? Do they feel valued, right? Do they feel missed when they don't show up, right? This is really fundamental to the experience that our members want and deserve. And we really need to commit to delivering it. Again, it's comfort with other club members that's most important. Rotary International is providing a lot of opportunities to engage and derive value out of your membership. And the club has a fundamental responsibility here to ensure that they're first, again, feeling welcomed and valued before they'll even choose to explore some of those other opportunities. So we really want to think about that. I put in the chat a link to the membership page at rotary.org, because there's an incredible array of resources to help you, and it's kind of organized in buckets around kind of what are you trying to accomplish. The other thing I want to point your attention to on that page at rotary.org/membership, there's a resource called the Club Planning Assistant. And what's really cool about this resource is that it acknowledges that Rotary's website is robust. Rotary's website has a ton of information, right? But it's sometimes kind of hard to find it all. And so this Club Planning Assistant resource that you can find on the membership page will just ask you a couple of questions. What's the biggest challenge that you're facing in your club? And based how you respond, the tool will serve up in real time links to specific resources that are intended to address your self-identified challenge. These might be resources in the Learning Center that Megan spoke of. They might be resources around a discussion group or ways to develop more impactful service projects, right? What people were asking about. So I really encourage everyone to go check out that Club Planning Assistant. It's a featured resource on the membership page. It'll take you 5 or 7 minutes to kind of answer a couple of questions. And again, you'll get links to specific resources that you might otherwise not know where to look to find. So I hope you enjoy that. And finally, I just want to kind of close with one of my favorite quotes from a Rotarian. And it gets back to some of the earlier conversations about who was it? Sorry, someone on the call had talked about their fear of saying yes, right, or agreeing to work with you, Caroline. It might have been Mr. Hodges if that's right. Yeah. But anyway, I think that's actually the beauty of Rotary, right? When we say yes, we don't necessarily understand the scope of what we're saying yes to, but the joy is finding that out. The joy is the process. And I think that's something to really embrace and to cherish. It's the process of being a member that really allows us to do so much, to learn so much, and to just gain so much joy out of our participation in Rotary.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much.
Recognize I'm running along here, so thank you for the opportunity to be with you all again this Saturday.
Absolutely. We do hope that you join us sometime in person at our district, perhaps a college visit, but we appreciate it. You know, Brian, the willingness of folks like you from Rotary International to join us on the district level to help our clubs deal with boots on the ground issues and challenges is so much appreciated. And I would just urge everyone again to reach out to Rotary International, either by the website or call them or email them. They're incredibly responsive. So thank you very much, Brian. You've given us a lot to think about and additional resources. So we hope you have a great rest of your Saturday.
Thank you. You too.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right. So speaking of our district and being engaged, we have now some presentations from local district members who are going to talk to you about some opportunities that district members can take advantage of, that clubs can take advantage of for particular programs and events in our district. And Louisa, you can start those slides. Great, and we will start, Larry, with you with the RILA presentation. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Well, RILA, Rotary Youth Leadership Academy. We enroll about 70 students in our weekend program. Next. Louisa. Thank you. Where we conduct this event at the Northern Vermont University in Linden, Vermont, in the last weekend of June. You notice we accept about 5 students per club. Why? Well, we want each student to be on equal ground and have equal access to all clubs to participate. We divide the groups into 8 teams. The team members are from different areas of our district, where they will meet new friends and start fresh in a group, not knowing anyone else. Usually we have up to 1 student from our Quebec clubs on each team. This encourages international contacts, friendships, and understanding, as some students have not even really left their hometown. Students will be assigned to teams in early June, so the counselor can connect with them before the event. Also, this gives us time to order the correct size and number of t-shirts. Next. I specified that we start Friday at 8:00 a.m. This is to make sure your student has transportation. We conclude about noon on Sunday. This is a team event, so each student needs to be at RILA the whole time. And this is part of the reason to get the applications out early, so the students do not commit to starting summer jobs that would include part of that weekend. This needs to be communicated during the application process. And at present, the university requires that all attendees are vaccinated and mask wearing when inside. This might be less stringent in June, but as of now, this is what we have to do. The teams do many games to enlighten the students of the benefits of using each other's strengths to accomplish a mission. So, in other words, they have fun, they learn concepts at the same time. Some games are timed, and they are able to discuss how they perform the task and can redo the task to do better. Next. Past year, we did virtual RILA. Each team came up with different community projects. One example was an interpersonal project that could be done in one's community. Next. Another focused on reaching out to others in poorer countries, lending a helping hand. Next. The prior year, we did a Rise for Hunger event. The organizers shared their program and then described what was to be done and how many families would be given a meal. This really hit home with the group. They loved doing the project on here. This is great. Next. So we are scheduled to do this again this coming year. Please do not, share specifics of what we do in RILA, but we encourage giving potential candidates a taste of what's going to happen. This presentation is so that you know a little bit about the program and can share a taste of what to expect. Again, we have all the students arrive on an equal understanding with leadership, fun, and meeting new friends and social development as a goal. Next, I have asked Bob and Bill from our Bristol Club to join me and to share how Bristol Rotary picks their students. Bob, you there? Bill?
I'm here, yes.
I'm here.
Yeah,
Bill's here.
And Bill's here.
I'll be glad to. Sure. So I've been involved with our RILA committee for the past few years here for the Bristol, New Hampshire Club. And typically how we do this in a nutshell is once the RILA specifics have been posted on the district website, we'll go onto the website, print off the applications, and also the promotional materials, the posters that's provided, alter it to our club specifics. And then we have a great relationship with our local high school where I work with the school principal. We'll set up an assembly for, typically it's the sophomore students, but the past 2 years with COVID, it's been sophomores and juniors. We'll schedule an assembly at the school, invite those students to come into the auditorium. Bob and I will give kind of a brief synopsis about how RILA works, you know, the specifics of when it is, what the commitments are. But the biggest sell for RILA is having the past year's recipients come to that assembly, get up on stage and tell these students what they learned, what they, you know, felt the reward of going to RILA was. And that's the biggest sell of this program, is to have those kids from the previous year up there talking about the program, you know, what they learned and the rewards that they got from that. At that point, we'll pass out applications and also offer them at the school office in case somebody wants to do it at a later date. One of the reasons we do this with a lot of variety of students is we're not necessarily looking for, you know, the student council president or the captain of the football team. There's a lot of kids that we've seen over the past few years that have benefited from RILA because they're a student that wants to come out of their shell. You know, they want to be able to learn about leadership. And we've seen great examples of this from recipients that attended RILA, and they get back up there and they have so much enthusiasm and thank Rotary for letting them be a part of it. So that's about how we go with our process.
Thank you, Bill. Anything to add, Bob?
Yes, so you would ask why we go through this process, and some clubs may just reach out to the guidance department and say, send a couple of students our way, here's the forms. But as Bill alluded, we think it's important to have a relationship with the school, to have a Rotary presence in the school and the community. And we also we want to give every student who has an interest a chance to be considered for RILA. And the other part of this is we, before doing this, go to the club and say, how many students do you want us to sponsor, so that we have a guideline. And the club, as Caroline was asking, it's the club that sponsors the students at $385 per student. And that's another reason that it's important when we are doing the interview process with the school, that we can get that commitment from the student that they're going to attend start to finish. If you don't have that connection and you just get an application from, you know, back, and you haven't really interacted with the student, and then they don't show up, well, your club's going to be out $385, and we may take another club's alternate student and at the last minute squeeze them into RILA. But that's why we do it. Is there another question, Larry?
No, thank you very much. So I just wanted to give ideas out as how to do this for other clubs, to reach out to the students. And I will continue on then. Louisa, next slide, please. All right. So I mentioned that we have teams. The teams are led by past graduates of the program. 8 team leaders are supported by 3 veterans of 2 years at RILA. The program is overseen by quote unquote super seniors who have graduated 3 years in the program at least. They select the leaders and give the guidance prior to the event. Did I mention that we need some Rotarians to attend the event? I must have, or maybe. So what is expected of the Rotarians? Well, to be there, watch, assist in case of injury or homesickness, and of course, very important, pick up pizza for Saturday night. Got to stay in the dorm room during the event. At night, the dorm rooms consist of 6 individual bedrooms per suite. Each suite has 2 bathrooms. We have 6 suites per hallway, 2 hallways for the men, 2 hallways for the women. For the mathematicians, that's 48 beds per gender. Everyone in their bedroom has a key for security and the hallways are carded for entry. And to my knowledge, we have not had any issues at the event. Next. So we follow the Rotary Youth Protection Policy. Next. Everyone over 18 gets to have a background check done. So the applications are done. This is a fairly simple form, fill out, send it to Jay Palomino, who will send it in to Essex to verify that there's, no problem with our leaders. We also do have the applications and information on the website that should be on this later on this afternoon, according to Mike. I was just asking him about it. So get the flyers out to your local school, homeschoolers, and even your church youth groups. Interview and select candidates in April, by April, so they do not schedule anything else that weekend. Make sure that the parents are aware of the travel needs and approve their attendance. I've had that issue before. So on Sunday, we invite parents for brunch and an overview of the weekend. Caroline had mentioned something in the chat about seeing somebody coming back. I love the Saturday night talent shows. You have kids come in, Bob will, I'm sure will attest to kids say, oh, I don't have any talents. Wow, we find the talents out there and they have a great time and it is a great experience. I love being there.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much, Larry. We have to wrap it up, but we very much appreciate it.
June 24th, 26th. Questions, give me a call, give me an email, along with Bob. Bob's email address is on there as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Larry, Bob, and Bill. That was awesome. And it really inspires me to go back to my club and make sure that we have a process similar to what Bill described to get great candidates and encourage our local students to participate. So thank you so much. So we have now a presentation regarding the Friendship Exchange. And Louisa, did we decide who was going to do this?
I believe Dick Podolec is on the call.
Okay. Okay. So Dick, take it away again. 10 minutes max would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. I hope you can hear me okay.
We can.
Good morning and thank you for letting me speak. It's nice to see some friends and RFE participants in the audience. I truly believe in the benefits of the Rotary Friendship Exchange Program and feel it is one of Rotary's best programs. Slide number 1 just shows the different RFE trips taken by District 7850 Rotarians and some of the travelers. We try to pick popular, safe, mostly English-speaking districts to visit. It helps, the program helps to build international understanding and goodwill among Rotarians and families. You stay with Rotarian families, experience other cultures, and make lasting friendships. Trips are open to all District 7850 clubs and members. Visiting Rotarians stay with Rotary hosts who provide meals and drive for each day of planned activities. Air travel, entertainment, and some of the meal expenses, such as when dining out, are paid by the participants. A big plus is not having any hotel expenses, and many events have discounts arranged. Typically, 10 to 12 people travel for 14 days throughout the district visited. They visit 3 to 4 areas within the district, staying for 3 to 5 days in each. The same rules and scheduling apply for hosting and visiting groups. The district visited all make similar return trips to District 7850, usually to see the fall foliage. We try to reciprocate the great hospitality afforded to us. Okay, the next slide is some of the highlights of some recent trips. 2019 was Calgary, Alberta. We attended the Calgary Stampede, Canada's most popular tourist event. The Red Deer Rotarians planned a special overnight trip by bus to see Banff, Lake Louise, and the glaciers in the Columbia ice fields. We also crossed into Montana, across the Canadian border in a boat through Glacier National Park. The next slide shows New Zealand. And this is a picture from the US Embassy in Auckland. The next slide It's just another list of our travelers on the New Zealand trip. So we were able to arrange a trip to both Wellington and on the North Island, and Otaki, Queenstown, and Wanaka on the South Island. It was the first time I heard of an RFE to 2 different Rotary districts, and it included 2 pretty scenic plane flights from Wellington to Dunedin and from Queenstown back to Auckland and then to the US. So what are the benefits of RFEs? Travelers and hosts get to know and meet Rotarians around the world on both incoming and outgoing trips. They learn firsthand about the country and region's history, their culture, see the impact of Rotary on their local communities. And they get to go to 3 to 4 Rotary Club meetings and look at Rotary projects. So slide 5 is a Rotary project from the Surfer Sunrise Club in Australia. And what it is this is a wheelchair built by using dump bicycle parts from the Brisbane dump. And these Rotary, a couple of engineers in the Rotary Club built and delivered the wheelchairs to a small island near Fiji to be used by handicapped children who are not able to go to school or spend much time with other friends. Each year they ship hundreds of chairs all over the world for free to disabled youth. I think it is one of Rotary International's most successful projects. Next, I wanted to show a couple of the next slide. Go ahead, the next one. That's just another wheelchair slot. This is in Port Arthur, South Africa, where Rotarians, this is a lab that was built for computers and a school which was also renovated and is annually funded by Rotarians in Port Arthur, Australia. When we were in the school, that is actually a picture of the young students singing America the Beautiful during our visit to the school. So seeing these projects that clubs work on is always a thrill. Okay, the next 3 slides are just happen to be 3 slides I picked out from South Africa. These are the first one was the Cape Town, the penguins near Cape Town. The second one are kids in a black township near Kenton. And this third is a shaman in the black township. This is the local medicine man who everyone goes to when they are sick. And we have a lot of stories. So they did a presentation to the Rotary people on the exchange, and he described what he does in his community. And that was just in a totally black community near Kenton in South Africa. Okay. There are a lot of touristy things you do when you're on trips. So this is just some slides from Australia. And real quickly, that's just our group. The next slide is we go, you go to museums, you see animals, you go to parks. Obviously in Australia, you see some koalas, kangaroos. This is interesting. We stopped along the road and this shows the Australian sense of humor. We stopped and there was nothing there. Next slide. This was a brewery tour where I thought the urinals were pretty unique. I'd never seen anything like that before in my life. Next slide. This is where Byron landed, the most eastern point of Australia, where there's a museum and a beautiful lighthouse. Next. These are biscuits that were shipped to the members of the armed services who assisted the United States in the war on the front. And this is a park in Tenterfield, where it shows a weather rock that they built a park in the town, all sponsored by Rotary. You can see the rock tells you what's going on. We attended a St. Patrick's Day celebration. You can see Ron and Marilyn celebrating along, and we had green beer and the whole 9 yards. You do things like that on exchanges. This is one of the people owned a condo in Burleigh Heights. This is Surfer's Paradise. You think you're in Miami, but it's really is one of the nicest beaches in Australia. This is actually a church where mostly Japanese weddings are performed, and it attracts a lot of tourists to Australia from Japan, which was interesting. This is a seafood restaurant. We went there where once a week they feed the birds, and you get inundated with penguins. I've never seen so many in my life. Okay, next, what are we planning? We had a great successful trip to New Zealand, February 3rd through 17. But the return trip was postponed and hopefully it will be in October 2022. So we were planning another trip to Southern California, but that was also postponed and that's on hold. Okay, so what we are planning is a trip to Scotland, which originally was for 2022, but it's now going to be in 2023. So the slide here shows that we're going to go to Edinburgh, Glasgow, Southern Scotland, and the area is full of historical sites and beautiful scenery. The next slide is just a map showing Edinburgh and the Edinburgh Castle, where you could spend a whole day just touring the castle. It's the largest castle I've ever seen in my life. I have been there once. The next thing we'll do is there are several festivals in Edinburgh, and this is the Military Tattoo Festival. Those are all bagpipes. It's the largest bagpipe festival in the whole world. So we'll probably go in the month of August, which would include the military tattoo, and there are several other planned events in Edinburgh. We then spend 2 or 3 days in various other areas within southern Scotland. We'll stay with the Rotarians all those days, and we'll see castles. We'll see Loch Lomond, Scotland's largest lake. We'll travel to St. Andrews, where you have the golf course in the college. And all I can say is email me, and I'll put you on a interested traveler list as we get more organized for the trip, which would probably be in August of 2023. In summary, I mean, an RFE allows you to get to make friends around the world. It's a very reasonable way to travel because of the no hotel bills. You see things that a tourist might not always see because it's with families and hosts, from specific areas. You really get to bond with these people and make friends for life. And you're in a small group, 12 of us and 12 of them at most. So it is the best way to travel. And it really promotes understanding from Rotarians around the world. People who go want to sign up for other trips. And there's a lot of information about the Rotary Friendship Exchange on the district website. One of the tabs on the left, if you go to the site, it shows pictures from prior RFEs, the people who went on the trips, and it's got 2 pages of articles on Scotland, District 1020, what you can do there. So I hope everyone can participate as an outgoing traveler or having your club host for the return trip. I can and have done presentations to individual clubs, and I would be willing to do so to your club if you want to get all your members interested in RFEs. And I know we don't have time for questions, but thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Dick, very much. Your pictures were the most enticing and engaging and inspirational of the entire day. So we appreciate it. It makes one thirst for travel. So thank you so much, Dick. And of course, as Dick says, the district website is a great opportunity to get some more information and look at the upcoming trip to Scotland. Thank you very much, Dick. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. So now, Donna, Bate, we're going to hear from you regarding the Rotary speech contest.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to help people understand what's most important, because sometimes when you read the speech contest documents, it can be overwhelming. And whether you're an assistant governor or club president or member, the more people understand how to run a speech contest, the better everybody's contest will be. This year's district theme is Serve to Change Lives. So Governor Carey decided that the best topic would be, how can your school partner with Rotary to change lives? Again, this year, as last year, we're trying to people to focus on topics that can create a project for the clubs. So the youth can really engage with Rotary, Rotary can engage with the youth. So changing lives, how do Rotary work with the students? So if you go to the next slide, the key points of the speech contest with all those pages of documents is really the poster, the contest poster. And I'm going to talk later about how important it is to set your date, your time, your location for your contest now. The registration form is key because it follows the student at every round. And it's my source for getting in touch with that student, getting arrangements, getting their check to them. It's really, really important. And likewise for the student who's competing, getting the judge and timer score sheets are also important. We'll touch on the contest format and the ballot tally a little bit later on. Next slide. This is a little smaller, but this is the top half of the poster. And the part that I'd like you to focus on is prepare and deliver a 5-minute speech, which relates this topic to the teamwork and Rotary values. It's really important that the speech addresses this topic, not, service above self, not the 4-way test. They can include those elements in their speech around this topic. So that's really important. Next slide. Okay, club round 1. The contestant who wins at the club level has a $100 prize. This comes from the club. Again, this poster can't go out until the club decides their date, their time, their location, and the contact person for their speech. And assistant governors have to decide at this time the date, the time, location, and contact for round 2. When the poster goes out, round 1 and round 2 information needs to be in place. And if for some reason you have to change that date and time, fine, that's what you have to do. But at least the contestants have an idea where their obligations are. Because if they win in round 1 and are unable to go to round 2, they don't get their prize. And that's really, really important for the club and the AG to understand, as well as the contestants. Now, we have 2 very firm deadlines this year. We've been very generous in the past, but because round 1 and round 2 end up on round 3 at the conference, we have to have these deadlines done. Club contests have to be done by February 28th, and the round 2 area contest has to be done by the 31st. Next slide. Round 3, as I mentioned, is going to be done at the conference, May 7th on Saturday. It's at J Peak, and we're estimating the time between 10 a.m. and 1. A lot will depend on how many contestants. That's why the other due dates are so important. Next slide. This is about the contestants' registration form. It's so much better when the student types it in and gives it to you electronically. Trying to read these forms are very, very difficult. And without a readable phone or email, I or the other people looking at this for their round contestants are stuck. So it's really important that you get the contestant either to write it clearly, but this has to be handed at round 1 for the club. That's where this registration form starts, and it should be passed on to the next round for the winner and the runner-up. However, all the forms need to be kept because sometimes the winner, the runner-up, can't attend. So we'll come back to this. I highlighted the contestant's responsibility because right here on the registration form, it says very clearly that if they can't participate in the next round, then they will not receive the prize for the round they did. And so the runner-up, if they go to the next round, they'll get the prize from the first round. Next slide. If there's questions about that, I guess you can put them in the chat and maybe Caroline will help me keep and focus on that. I know we're short of time, so I'm just moving along and then we'll come back to questions. Again, some people do not realize how important it is to have the school fill out their information. So if I have to go hunting for a student, I have a school name and a person in that school to contact. Likewise, the Rotary Club. It's not just the Rotary Club, but I need the name and contact information for that person. So this is all part of the contestants registration form that both the student, the school, and the Rotary Club need to fill out. Next slide. Now, this is really an important form for the contestant to get. The judge scoring sheet. What are they aiming for? What is the standard? And the sheet has a lot of tables, rows, columns, so you can judge each student and go to the next and go to the next. We do use and ask everyone to use speaking order. At each round, students should select a number for their speaking order, and they should be introduced as speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3. It's really important that we're not using their name, their school name, or the club name. And you might not realize it, but some names are just known in the community. And likewise, some names are really hard to pronounce. So why should one student have an easy name? Donna, she gets a nice introduction, but this other name is really unusual and it gets mispronounced. That's not a good start for the student. So we stick with numbers. It's the most neutral, most fair, consistent throughout the contest. So that means on the judging form, you're also using 1, 2, 3 speaker in that order. Now, the judging form is really good because you hear one, boom, you hear another, and particularly when you have several speakers. So that when you get done, the judge is adding up the numbers and they're looking at it. But if they remember, well, maybe I was a little hard on the first 2 speakers, I really think this one made a better point. They can put first place who they think should be there, not necessarily who scored the best number on their sheet. Whatever their score is, that's theirs. We're not referring to that score again. We're going by who they put on the bottom of the sheet as the first, second, and third place winners. The judge doesn't have to worry about time. We have timers. And the judges do not have to worry about the value of that first, second, and third place. The ballot counters take that and transfer the first place into a 5-point value, second place to a 3-point value, third place for a 1-point value. These are numbers we can do in our heads if worse comes to worse. So no matter if you have 11 contestants, as we do on the district level, hopefully, you have easy numbers to do. You don't have to deal with those 50 points on the score sheet. You're just dealing with the value of their placement. And if there's questions about that, this would be a really good time maybe to please. These are one of the questions I get so much is, how do I deal with this judge form? How do I deal with the value of that? So it's really important people try to understand that. Is there a question in the chat room related to that?
No, Donna, so far we're
good. On the
good.
website, and I've also, excuse me, you're good? Okay. They all are on the website. I've also sent them all directly to the area governors. Any club president, any club member can ask for them. I'll be glad to send them to you. The next slide is about the timer. And the timer is really good to have 2, because guess what? You get involved in the speeches. You can miss something. Really helpful to have 2 people timing if possible. And the timing's only important if you're under 4 minutes, you lose 5 points. If you're over 6 minutes, you lose 5 points. If you go to 7, you are disqualified. So you have a minute leeway on both ends. It really is meant to be a 5-minute speech. However, no matter what is said on the judging form or the timer form, we do not share any of that information with the contestant. They know, they're keeping time. They know if they went under, they know if they went over. After the speech, we just congratulate them for stepping forward and taking this risk. And anything you can say positive, say it, but don't share anything about a judge comment or timing. It's real important. Kids are, all of us are very vulnerable after we quote perform. So positive stuff and nothing else. Everything else is confidential in the judging form and the timer sheet. Okay, next slide. And these are just things to think about. I don't know if you'll get this slide projection. These projections will be put in a packet and everybody has access to them, Caroline. But in case, I thought I'd just put a few other words out there. Be consistent, be fair. We try to provide everybody with the same opportunity. And that means if you have 1 student, if you have 20, you do the same thing. You do the judging forms, you do the timing, you do the introductions. Everything is the same. And it is possible for one candidate not to win, because if they actually went over 7 minutes, or they have a speech that's not on the topic or inappropriate in some way, then that speech might not advance. So just remember that, whether it's one or more, everything is the same. Step up. And that we want to make sure that we're giving kids opportunities and reaching out to the schools. Next slide. Thank you. And so, yes, we're on the website. There's my name, my contact information. Sometimes questions about speech contests can be done really quick with a quick phone call. Whereas if you write it all out, it's so complicated because there are always so many avenues that can happen with the individual club situation, because it is the club's choice. Are they going to be live? Are they going to remote? You know, and the area governor and their clubs decide what happens to round 2. Is it remote? Is it live? And it's really advantageous if you do all the contestants the same. That if you find one really needs to be remote because they have health issues, then make all the contestants remote. And likewise, live. It's just, again, same playing field. I don't have all the technical skills for remote, but I have a great club member who showed me how to do judge forms electronically remote. So if everybody's remote, it can be done. And I can put you in touch with those skills, a person with those skills. I just don't have them on that level.
Thank you, Donna. We do need to wrap it up. Any final words?
No, just really have fun, but do realize it when someone doesn't win the first or second place, they have won because they stepped up. So there's no failure here. And this is a safe place, quote, not to get first place. And we all have to learn that too. So just enjoy.
Thank you, Donna, so much. We so enjoy this contest. Anyone who's actually been present for one of these contests is amazed by these kids and the vision and perspective they bring to Rotary and our Rotary principles, values, and sort of topics. And Donna, thank you for being a steward year after year for this project. We very much appreciate it on behalf of the district. So thank you very well for your commitment to these kids. All right, so now we're going to jump into, actually, you're going to hear from Monique Priestley, our district governor nominee designate for the first time today. Welcome, Monique. We're so happy to have you with us. We know you have another event that you are managing as well, so we appreciate you joining us. And we are going to talk about Clubs Reimagined. Next slide, please. So everyone loves options. This is very true. We were talking, Brian King was talking about a robust menu of community service projects for folks. And so I want to talk with you just very briefly about the options available to your current club if you decide you want to explore transformation or reimagination. Next slide. So let's start with the traditional club. What are some of the pros and cons? There is a meal expectation usually with a traditional club. There are usually presenters. There are also traditions that are practiced often in the traditional club format. These meetings are seen as social events. Members are usually willing to pay higher dues to attend a meal in a weekly meeting, and members have some flexibility and some freedom to take away time from job or family to attend these kind of weekly club traditional meetings. And also in traditional club formats, usually members have the financial wherewithal to be donating happy dollars, to be donating to fundraisers, etc. So that is a traditional club format. Many of you may have this type of club format, and it may work very well for you. And if it does, keep at it. But there are options available, and we're going to talk about those. Next slide, please. So the Passport Club. What is a Passport Club? A Passport Club is a club that is essentially created with members who can travel club to club and be able to participate in other clubs, not have its own standard regular club meetings. So it allows a flexibility. It allows the ability to go into other clubs and experience their culture and see whether you can draw ideas back to your own club. And then the Passport Club itself does service projects, et cetera. It has the same kind of formal structure in terms of having a president and a secretary, et cetera, as a traditional club, but it is flexible because its members can visit other clubs for their club experience. Next slide. Corporate. This is something that I have not seen within our district. I don't know if these clubs exist, but it's a great option. If there is an organization that has a number of employees in your community, they may be in a good place to start a corporate Rotary club where the actual organization hosts the Rotary club week in or bi-weekly, whatever they decide. And it really appeals to an organization that wants to do good works and have that culture within its business operation. So another good example of a flexible type of club. Next slide, please. Cause-based, again, I have not seen really this taken advantage of in our district, but it's something to think about. If you are a club that is traditional, might you want to consider a cause-based club, members who are passionate about a particular cause and focus their service in that area, whether it be environmental, whether it be helping children and mothers, whatever that might be. We have plenty of room in Rotary for folks who are passionate about a particular area and want to focus on it for their club. Next slide, please. Alumni based. I thought this was a really great option. And Donna, hearing you talk about the speech contest, you know, this is a club that's possible to draw on from folks who have been involved in programs, you know, RILA or the Rotary Speech Contest, et cetera. Folks who have been involved in Rotary programs and want to join together to continue that Rotary experience, and they want to do it in a flexible, fun format. So this is a club that is based on members who are former Rotary program participants. A great idea, again, one I have not seen executed in our district, so something to think about. Next slide, please. Interest-based. Members who want to focus on a particular hobby or interest, for example, professional development for members. Again, another way in which people who are interested in one particular area, hobby or interest, can get together and talk about that particular interest or hobby and advance that within the context of a Rotary club. Next slide, please. And then we have international. So this is this kind of a club is one very interesting, one in which expats from particular countries or those who speak a different language rather than the native language of their district, or an online club who members are from different countries can get together and form a Rotary club. Again, allowing flexibility, allowing different kinds of identity within a club that may speak to those particular members. Vermont, I can speak for our state. We do have diversity in the state. There are folks from different cultures who speak different languages, who may be more comfortable in a club that speaks to their country of origin. So this is an idea, again, that maybe we should start thinking about within our district. Next slide, please. And then we have e-clubs, and we're going to hear about one of those shortly from Monique. E-clubs are online clubs. Members can join from anywhere, and they're not dependent on a location. The club decides what the group and individual goals are, and the meetings can happen online. You can skip the cost of meals, you can skip the hassle of travel, and they're much more inclusive, frankly, of people who have work and family commitments. They're flexible. So again, I don't know, other than the Cohay's Club that Monique's going to talk about, I'm not sure if we have other e-clubs in our district, but I wanted to go through these options because if you're a club that is experiencing a lack of particular, a North Star, as Susan would put it, or if you're a club that is experiencing a decrease in members and you need to revitalize your club, these are models that can work for you. All of the explanations of these various models are available at rotary.org. Next slide, please. So is there room for one of these clubs in your corner of our district? If you want to talk about that, get in touch with me and we can talk perhaps about how to create that type of a club. Or is your club ready for a reimagination or a retransformation? Next slide. Maybe your club is in the perfect place and maybe it isn't. We have two clubs in our district that weren't in a perfect place, and they had the candor and the willingness, the self-awareness to look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, we're not getting where we need to go. And so they did something different, and we're going to talk briefly about those two case studies. Next slide, please. And Monique, take it away, please.
All right, thanks, Carolyn. Hi, everybody. Cohos Rotary E-Club. We were formerly Woodsville Walls River Rotary Club. Pre-COVID, actually, we started talking over the last few years. I had joined, and the members, the original members of the club, were just kind of ready to move on. And pass on the baton. But then we had a couple years where it was really a struggle to try to get new members on board. And it was everything that Caroline showed in the different slides, whether it was, we had a weekly commitment to drive half an hour to a restaurant, pay $20 for the meal. We did all the traditional things like race and things that might turn people off, especially people coming from a younger generation. And instead we transformed to an e-club. We started meeting on Zoom. We made kind of a group commitment to do because everybody could join from really anywhere, that each person would do 40 hours of community service per year. And if that worked, that it would be with our group, that's great. And if they were somewhere else that they couldn't gather with us, then they could do it on their own. So we meet twice a month on Zoom for an hour and just keep it pretty quick and efficient. And we just focus on planning the next thing we're going to do. Instead of trying to do things that take months to plan, we've just been doing like quick ideas. Like last week we did a meal for, we all chipped in to do a meal and some cards for Veterans Day. One of our members was doing a big meal for a veterans home. The week before we jumped in and just did a meal for people experiencing homelessness for a shelter in White River Junction. We've done pet food drives. You can see in this picture in a toothpaste costume. We were dancing around. One of the members was a tooth, and we just went outside our local kind of drugstore and we did a toiletry drive, which just ended up going, I think, to like 10 different food shelves in schools and things like that. So just really quick things where like, okay, we're gonna do a toiletry drive. We gotta be here for 3 hours and we just show up and then we just like have a sign and then we're done. So things that aren't like a huge commitment. And then, yeah, we're trying to do one project per month where we just gather and have fun. And I also added an onboarding presentation to go over, really explain like what our club does, but also what the district does and what international does in the zone. Because I feel like those are things that could easily be missed by somebody just jumping in and participating in service projects. And somebody asked in the chat how I manage camaraderie through the e-club. And definitely through Zoom, I mean, we always start off just, going over like what are people going through in their lives during the week, and don't just jump right into business. And then also having that once a month at least service project. We all get together, usually outside if we can right now, and just have fun. And yeah. I'll just stop there, Caroline. I know we're short on time, so.
No, we're okay. We're okay, actually. And Monique, I want to ask you two questions. The first one is, can you talk a little bit more about this onboarding presentation? Is that something that is just that you send to people, or is it something that you do with new members online? One person had a question, how many are there in your group, your club? And then my final question was, tell us specifically, what are the benefits in this format as opposed to any of the other formats that we talked about?
Sure. So the first, I think we're up to 16. I have to actually update the database. We've had a few members join recently. And then as far as the onboarding, I have like a slideshow that I put together. And so I'll get on and Zoom with the new members and just walk through that. So they have a dedicated time to ask questions rather than trying to do it during one of our hour-long meetings. And then, the benefits. So we have a lot of young people. We have, and then also just retired people who are traveling all the time. So we have, those retired members are one's in Montana, but he can still join our calls. The younger, we have mothers that have their kids that often join the Zoom calls from home. And just the cost, we're not having to have anybody drive because being an e-club and really being a regional club in our area, we were Woodsville, Wells River, which was actually really covering like 8 or so towns in our region. So that's why we switched the name when I came on board, because people, Woodsville and Wells River are actually villages of towns. So they're not even whole towns. So it was very confusing when trying to recruit to have people feel like they were welcome. So that's why we made it the broader regional name and got rid of having people have to drive and the added cost of paying for a meal. And we meet twice a month for an hour. Basically, I think second and fourth Tuesdays or first and third.
And what about your dues? Somebody asked about dues structure. How have you guys handled that?
So we try to keep it really low. We have $200 a year, which is, covers international and district and like a little bit of club money. But we actually need to build that by doing more fundraising events.
Okay.
And we have people pay on PayPal. We like invoice people, which has helped a lot as well.
Gotcha. Thank you, Monique. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think that for those of us who I think had some insight into your journey, it sounds like the club that you were part of was just, potentially going to fold shop and go home, and which is a real loss to the community, obviously. And so your imaginative efforts to recreate this club and make it accessible to a number of folks is wonderful. And just final question, Monique, you said you have some younger members. What is the age span of those who are participating in your club? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we technically have a 17-year-old member who's not an official member, but we don't have a Rotaract, or Interact. So she is, she participates in meetings and comes to our service projects. And the toiletry drive, she was actually our best kind of gatherer. She showed up to our drive with the entire car full of toiletry items, which is amazing. And then I would say a couple in our 30s, and then a couple in the 40s, a couple in their 50s, and a couple in their 60s. And then a few actually in their 70s and 80s that aren't as active, but with Zoom and stuff, they're able to show up when they can.
So from an age perspective, that's actually quite a diverse club then. You have really almost every generation sort of represented. So
yeah, and gender-wise, we're actually much more diverse than we were as well, which is awesome.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you, Monique. I
thank
appreciate that. And I'm sure the group enjoyed hearing about your experiment, and it gives a little inspiration for others. So one final club we want to talk about, if you'll advance to the next slide, Louisa, and that is the Gen Rotary Club. This is a club that is still fairly small. It was based from transformed from the Central Vermont Rotary Club, which had dwindled down to 2 members, unfortunately. Previously a powerhouse club, still doing great work, but it dwindled down, and was looking for new energy. And so you can see here, Abby Joyle is the current club president, and they have a pumpkin carving contest they've done the last couple of years. They are completely really service-based. They have one, I think, fundraising project they do that was a carryover from their prior iteration as a club, but they are very young membership and still growing, still trying to figure out. They had just started when COVID came in, so that was a bit of a disruption to them. They focus, I think, more on connecting through Facebook and Instagram than anything else. And they're focused really, I think, exclusively at this point on service projects. So local service projects that benefit the community. And as you can see from Abby, they have a lot of fun doing them. So really, again, sort of a willingness of Central Vermont Rotary Club to look at itself in the mirror and say, hey, we're not going to survive. If we are not going to survive, how do we get to the next sort of iteration of this club? And is there something we can do to attract members who perhaps would not otherwise be participating in a traditional club? And they figured out a way to do that through Gen Rotary. So those are just 2 small case studies from our district. I'd like to see more. I'd like to know if your club has experimented with transformation. I'd like to know if your club is interested in perhaps looking around your district and figuring out if there are other opportunities. We need to fight entropy as an organization, as a district. We need to evolve. And that is what this is about. That is what the next few years should be about for our district, for our clubs. And that's, I think, what Susan and I also are going to love to talk to you about in terms of the strategic plan, which after hearing Brian's presentation, I want to now transform to action plan, because I think that's a cool term for it. Next slide, please. So any final thoughts, final last words? I thank you all very much for spending your Saturday morning with us. For those of you who participated as presenters, incredibly helpful and I hope informative for everyone. If anyone has any final comments or questions, we have a few minutes. I'd love to hear from you. I think that Monique has put her email in the co-host's Rotary email in the chat box. So if anyone wants to reach out to co-hosts and see, have more questions about what they did and the thought process they went through and the transformation they went through, feel free to reach out to her. Any final thoughts or questions?
I just want to thank you for lining up a great agenda. Well done.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, we enjoyed putting it on, and we're really interested in continuing this level of engagement. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If you have any other, I hope you took a snapshot of all the DG track people. Feel free to be in touch with us and reach out. We love your passion. We'd love to make sure we're working for you. So thank you all very, very much. Have a great day.
Great job. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Great job.
Thank you.
Richard, are we staying on this at 1?
I would presume so.
Okay.
I'm not aware that we have any other links.
Okay. Perfect.
Mike
right.
sent out a link. Was it
Oh,
the
did
same
he?
one? Yeah.
Oh, that might be it then. I wasn't sure. Let's see here. I think you're right. I think he did. Let's see if I can find it. Yes, he did send out a link
Do you
by
know
email.
if that's still this room, just at a different
Oh, it might
time
be.
frame, or is it something he set up directly?
Let me see here.
I mean, regardless, we're looking at an hour of downtime, so.
Yeah, he said I don't know whether he set it up separately. I don't know how to know that from the link, but you can either leave now or just put your mute on and your video on and off and have your lunch and reconvene. And I could do 1 or 12:30, whatever people, I think probably everybody's expecting 1, but I certainly could do 12:30 too. People want to push forward. Yeah.
I have a question. I don't know what you're talking about. Is it
I'm
over
sorry, Susan.
or is it going on or?
Oh, sorry, Susan. We've wrapped up the event of this morning and the district committee is actually meeting the executive committee this afternoon at 1.
Okay. So
you can enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. All right.
It was great to see
wonderful.
you, Susan. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Louisa, could you send me? I had a heck of a time getting the speaking part